Hello and welcome to the We Are Makers podcast. We're Kate and Jack Lenny, a husband and wife team, sharing the stories of makers from around the world. We travel to the makers' workshops, studios and sheds to bring you honest conversations with the people behind the craft, right where the making happens. This podcast is an extension of our quarterly print magazine, our original project born in 2020 from a love of craft and the need to champion makers beyond the digital world. This podcast is a true labour of love, and if you enjoy what we do, there's a few ways in which you can support us. First, subscribe to our quarterly magazine. It's beautifully printed and delivered straight to your door every February, May, August and November, and it's what makes everything we do possible. You can also follow this podcast, leave a review, or if you fancy, buy us a coffee to help us going on those long travel days. Whether you're listening with a coffee in hand or busy making at your bench, let's dive into today's episode.
I get answered.
Love
Ready to rock and roll?
Yeah, I think
Number
so.
100.
100, yeah.
How exciting.
That is very cool.
This will be our first podcast since December.
It will be.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes they say don't take a break, but
Sometimes you
Well,
need
we
it.
did have a lot to sort out with
Yeah.
regards to magazine.
Exactly. It's not like you've not been working.
Massive fulfilment issues.
yeah.
Oh, really?
And, just an absolute calamity of fulfilment issues from, promised goods that never turned up. Anyway, and then obviously
start on a
launching the
negative.
grant. So, but anyway, who are we here with?
I am Donna from the Glass Florist, which does as it says on the tin.
Yeah.
Make flowers out of glass, essentially.
I love it.
7 years, but not always
Not
the glass
always
florist.
flowers. So
Talk us through that.
First did lamp work 2013. So Andrew moved to Canada. We'd just got together and he said, I'm moving to Canada for a year. And I thought, oh, damn, that's a shame.
So am I.
Yeah, essentially. So I was at uni doing geography because that was the only thing I was good at school other than art, but art at uni was not on the cards. I had to do a proper subject.
Right.
So I did geography because it meant I could travel. And then I was at the point where I needed to do a dissertation, choose a dissertation. So I was like, Canada's got geography. I'll just go to Canada. So I went out there and did a dissertation based on bears because that was cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Bears are cool. Well, bears.
So I did that. Andrew was working on a golf course at that point because it was the summer. I said, show me where you were when you were on the snowboard, like snow slopes. And he said, there's not going to be anything up there because it's summer, everything's melted, nothing's going on. But he'd been away for 6 months working there. So I was like, well, I want to see where you've been. Yeah. And the one thing that was there was a little glass studio that was open. And they had workshops and they sold pre-made beads and things like that.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's a bit of me. I want to try that.
Yeah.
So I did a workshop and then just got completely hooked.
That's
and
awesome.
we'd just get the bus up the mountain every day to go in because you could hire torch time. So I had a class and then I couldn't afford any more classes.
Yeah.
But for like $10 an hour, I could just be at the torch and just
just
buy the
hire
glass
a
for the rod.
workbench.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Sounds amazing.
And like they weren't teaching me, but because I was the only one in there, they'd walk past and be like, try that. So I was kind of
Nice.
picking stuff up, which was good.
How long did you do that for?
So I was out there for 3 months. I probably took the class halfway in. So I'd say I probably went up 3 times a week for the rest of the time. Came home, had to finish my degree. There was like a Dragon's Den thing at uni where you could get funding. So I pitched to them, got the funding for a kiln like half the size of this and a beginner torch and set that up like in a shed and just started from there once I'd finished uni alongside like a part-time job, just making beads for jewellery mostly. And beads that I sold at like craft fairs for other people to make stuff out of as well. And yeah, just kind of did it as a jewellery business for a long time until COVID and then moved to flowers.
Why flowers?
Because they're beautiful.
Yeah, because they're beautiful. So I would go to fairs and sell the jewellery and would always have a little vase of a few flowers that you could buy individually. And
Ones that you'd made.
the ones I'd made, that I just kind of experimented with alongside the jewellery, but thought surely the jewellery is going to be my place because you can sell it for more money, even though the costs are more when you're doing like silver jewellery. never thought the flowers was enough of a product. I thought I needed to offer like this really wide selection of things rather than narrowing down onto one thing. And every time I'd come back from a fair and be like, oh, I sold quite a lot of flowers again this time. And every time I'd be like, people choose weird colours together. Like, that doesn't look nice. And Andrew said to me one night, well, why don't you put them into bouquets and sell them as bouquets? And I started doing that. Yeah, literally couldn't sleep that night. You know, you get that moment, you think, I think there's something in this. Yeah. And then COVID hit. People were looking to send a little something to someone as like a pick-me-up, you know, gifts for their grandma or whatever. And just, I had more time off work because I was furloughed. So it meant I could kind of try a new product range.
So all this early time, you were still working full-time at the same time?
Yeah, so to start with, I just had part-time jobs, and then they weren't enough income because the jewellery business wasn't doing well enough. So then I got a full-time job working in like a marketing company. And then I left that and worked full-time for Andrew's company. And then when COVID hit, I could kind of just spend more time playing around. Yeah. So it worked well in a way, having COVID. Yeah. Which feels bad to say, but...
Well, the more people we speak to, the more... I don't think it's that COVID worked well. I think it's that having time worked well, right?
For sure.
Because it's not often that we speak to a maker that didn't have a good time through COVID.
Yeah.
Yes, financially they might have not, and I understand that's bad in itself, but it maybe does go to show us that we're missing time somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. People had more disposable income, I think, as well. And
holidays weren't a thing.
Couldn't spend it on as much. You know, the range that you could spend things on, holidays, restaurants, pubs and things, you couldn't go out.
You were stuck in, so you wanted to do something with your hands.
Yeah.
And you wanted nice things. People that were buying wanted nice things around them.
And they wanted deliveries because it was just like the perk of your day, wasn't it? Getting something new. So people were buying stuff. Kept the postman's busy.
Everyone had more time except postman.
Yeah. It was a bit like the magazine because like that was...
You launched it through COVID.
Yeah, and I was like, this seems like a bad idea, but actually everyone's stuck inside, so they want something to read.
For sure.
Launched from cold, sold your first 2,500 editions in 3 months, 4 months, something like that.
That's crazy.
So it was a good time for people
I was convinced that I was retiring. I was like, I've done my
good.
bit. Kate sorted it. And then it all went.
Quite.
So jewellery, did you... When did you decide you wanted to do things with your hands?
I've always been crafty.
Right.
Always. I think I wasn't that academic, but I could make things. So like Blue Peter making like little dolls' houses out of toy boxes and stuff, and
love that.
Anything. I would be at school selling people like little beaded bracelets I'd made, or like bookmarks or anything. 25p a bookmark, you know. Always wanted to make things.
Entrepreneurial spark.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little bit of that, isn't there? It's not just I wanted to make things, it's you wanted to make things and clearly wanted to sell it as well.
Yeah. So I could buy more things to make more things.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
Welcome to the world as a maker.
Yeah, that's why I have so much glass.
Yeah.
So at that point, did you know that that's what you wanted to do forever?
I didn't think you could.
Yeah, okay.
I thought that you had to have like a grown-up job and that you could... Sorry, printer, waking up. I thought it was just a hobby thing that you could do. But it was a nice thing to do with spare time. Yeah. I wasn't one that could watch a film without doing something.
Yeah, okay.
I had to be sitting doing something at the same time. I never knew what job I'd have. I think when you growing up, a lot of people go into teaching. I think I probably thought I'd eventually end up as a teacher, but never wanted to do that. I'm not very good around kids. So I didn't know what I'd do. So I just did geography because the trips were good. Yeah. We got a paid trip to New York, so I was like, well, I'll go on that one. We did also have to go to Corby, but, you know, there's balance.
Yeah.
Why did you think, or why do you think people think that you can't do craft as a business? Because, I mean, it's getting more popular now.
Yeah,
I mean, people like you on social media that have large followings and are clearly showing a successful business because of it. But it's not the norm. No. But then equally, like you've just said there, you didn't know what you were going to do. So why was that not a thing?
Yeah, I think it might be easier now because of social media. Social media wasn't so big when I was younger, so I didn't see these people doing it. I had no like proof of concept.
Yeah, okay. Same.
Yeah, so you couldn't be like, oh, well, this person's doing really well at it, so why not me?
Yeah.
There wasn't really an audience to see it. I guess the only audience you'd see would be designers that are in shops or whatever, and that just felt too far away that I couldn't get to that point. But hopefully that's changing for like this generation, and like the magazine is helping people see that, you know, you can make a living out of it.
That was kind of the whole purpose in it, is just to make people aware that these people are out there.
Yeah, we exist.
Yeah, very much so.
Had you had your time again though, because obviously you worked for a marketing company and you worked for other people and even operations with your partner's company, like, would you have changed it? Because there is still value in doing all that and doing the geography degree, you know, there is even like structured learning is a huge thing that you need to learn to get into craft.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not convinced, and it's not that I think it's wrong, it's just I'm not convinced that going straight into a craft is the right thing.
I think I've learned a lot of skills. I think the business side of it comes more naturally because I've had to run. I think I could just really lean into just the creative side of things because that's my comfort zone. But I think I am capable of doing the business kind of side of things.
Yeah.
And doing like the operation manager job and things like that, kind of stretch that and build my skill set in that area, which has then helped with this business. Whereas if I'd just gone straight into craft, I think I would have just lent into the creative side of things, not operated that side of my brain.
Yeah.
And then perhaps wouldn't have done as well, because you do need structure and you do need the discipline of it and the working out the numbers and seeing if things are actually viable. You can't just make stuff because you like it. Like, it's got to be a viable business for it to have sustainability, I guess.
Yeah, to keep going.
How did you decide that this was a viable business? Because that's something not a lot of people talk about openly, is that we all love to make beautiful things. Of course we do. I could easily disappear off the face of the world and make boots or be a blacksmith or something like that. But you have to find a viable business. For anyone listening that's looking for their viable business, how did you do it?
I think I had the luxury of working and doing this alongside. So it meant it wasn't a big jump. I jumped when this was doing really well.
Right.
But in the meantime, that meant getting up at 4 a.m. to do this before work and working till 10 o'clock around, you know, my normal job. So that really helped, having that luxury, because I could prove the concept for 6 months, a year, however long it took, to know that this income would be enough and that there was consistency in people ordering. It wasn't just, oh, it's just been Christmas, that's why it did so well. You had to kind of go through the high seasons and the low seasons and test that it was good throughout all of that.
Yeah.
And I had that opportunity before the videos went viral, which was good to kind of prove the concept outside of that anomaly, you know? Because it is an anomaly. It's not going to happen all the time.
You can't base
ride
a
the
business
wave.
on it. Yeah,
No.
you can, as you say, you can absolutely ride the wave and make that work for you.
And stretch it out.
Yeah. That's what we're all hoping for and planning to do, right? But you can't rely on it.
No, because you can't make it happen again.
No.
So once that wave has quietened down, if the base business isn't strong enough, then what are you going to be left with? I guess.
I'm just going to move your mic. So how did you ride that wave? How did you stretch that out?
So I think we're still riding it,
right?
Which is crazy because it'll be 2 years in June since the first video went viral. And we, perhaps, if it was to happen again, we'd be able to ride it better. It's having the systems in place so that when that video hits, you can collect all the benefits of that, I guess. You know, we had products up for sale, the website was fully stocked, like, so when we woke up and it had happened overnight, like, we had the orders coming in and we were ready for it. But managing lead times and things like that was tricky. So for a long time I didn't anticipate how long that work would take me, and orders were coming in quicker than I could figure it out.
Right.
So setting the lead times from 2 weeks to 6 weeks to 8 weeks to 4 months, 5 months, I didn't quite do as accurately as I needed to. So I've done a lot of time trying to keep up with myself.
You're forever learning though, aren't you? Like,
for sure.
Always, you always will be.
Yeah. And it was also that I was terrified of setting them too far in advance and people going, oh, I'm not waiting that long. And then not getting the benefits of that wave. You know, if I instantly put it to 6 months, would people go, oh no, I'm not buying that. So was it better just to get everybody's orders in and then figure it out later, which was kind of the tactic I went with to a certain extent. And then I've been playing catch up.
Which I don't think is a bad tactic. Like, if you don't know, you don't know. As long as you're honest with that, like, you just don't know.
And
but
we
the
kind of did it
sin
the
would
best
be to
we could.
not take those orders
Yeah.
when they're there.
Yeah, for sure. And then it's just been a case of knowing we now have a wider audience. It took me 10 years to get to 10,000 followers, and then literally in the space of a month we went from 10 to 130 odd.
You're the overnight success.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone says overnight. It's like, well, that bit was overnight, but this bit took a long time.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just using that exposure, I guess, now, and jumping into the opportunities that come. You know, in theory, things like corning, I probably didn't technically have time for. I probably should have been working on other areas of the business and getting up straight on those orders so I could reduce the lead times, which are still at like 12 months. Yeah. If I didn't have corning, perhaps we'd be at 6 months by now. But that opportunity came because of that.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got to jump on it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then that will help sustain the wave.
Well, it just helps stretch it out exactly like you've said, isn't it? Like if it is a 12-month lead time, it is a 12-month lead. Like we know saddle makers that are 5 and 6 year lead time. Like it does happen. But if you don't take the orders in, you'll never have the... I do think a lead time's... it's difficult, isn't it? Because a lead time is a really good sign. Like if I'm buying from someone that have a long lead time, like cars have long lead times, like that's just the way the world is. But we're all so indoctrinated to Amazon Prime next day delivery,
it's
right?
that overnight, isn't it?
And it's proving to the customers this is why it takes so long. Like it's just me and my workshop.
Exactly.
There's nobody else helping me.
And I can only work so fast. You know, it's not
you
like
need
there's
to have
another
a life
bench
as well.
somewhere else. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You sleep.
And for a long time, I didn't realise that was important, and I felt guilty going away, especially when I was like up to the line on lead times or perhaps a bit behind. I thought, well, people are going to see me on holiday and think, well, you haven't done my order yet, and my order was supposed to be out 2 weeks ago.
Totally understand what you mean, yeah.
And I felt awful for it. But then you've got to share all aspects of your life for the social media. That's part of it.
You need to be the best version of you, and you need the rest.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's finding that balance. And we're getting there, for sure we're getting there now. Yeah. The last like 4 or 5 months, it feels a little bit more balanced. And will continue to be now that the corning stuff's made.
Is there any major things that you think have helped you find balance?
It's farming out to Andrew the bits that he can do, that he can help with. It's asking for help and accepting help, for sure. Systemizing things, even little things, you know, that maybe only take 4 minutes of your day, but if you can get rid of that and it's every day, then why not? You know, like even these tiles, we had these tiles put in yesterday that have been grouted in. All the ones I had before, I just laid loose, but the amount of like, that's my glass bin, that ends up on my bench every day.
Yeah.
And every day I'd have to take the tiles off, sweep it all up. Or I'd get bits of glass stuck in my finger, and then that would slow me down the next day because my finger would be sore, you know? Whereas if I can fully clean down every day, it makes a difference.
Really simple things, isn't it?
So simple. So
and
simple.
also things that you're not... One thing I see a lot is people that want to dive in it to be perfect. But these are things that you would never have...
When I was making, I was always like the perfect conditions, but actually it's...
letting
Even
go
the
of that
simple
is hard,
things
though.
like that, you would never have learnt that if you hadn't had those problems, if you hadn't had the sore finger or the slowed down or been busy enough to notice the issues.
Yeah.
The cracks only really show under pressure, don't they?
For sure. And then that's the time where you don't have the time to fix the problems, but it's kind of accepting that, right, this will help in the long run. We need to figure this out whilst we can.
So how does it all work now? You've still got a 12-month lead time. You're still taking orders.
Yep.
How have you managed to structure it?
So I have 4, sometimes 5 seasonal releases. And I work with the seasons because I feel like flowers just naturally work with the seasons, and then do Valentine's because you can't
miss that one.
Yeah. So I have those for people to be able to get hold of stuff sooner and not have to wait the 12 months. So that's all pre-made pieces.
Right, okay.
So then if they do want something, there's an opportunity throughout the year to get something without too long a wait. And because they happen every 3 months, there's always something. So if someone's inquiring, I can say, well, you could just wait till the next release and try your luck then. They sell quickly,
and
which is a
presumably
blessing.
they are not pre-released. They are literally dropped, and like like ceramicists often do. They do a drop and then go.
Yeah, so I will make the designs for them, put the designs up, I will put them on social media as like a preview, the designs, make however many of those, and then put them up. They're already made. People order those, and then they go out the next day. And they go quickly, which I'm still fortunate for. And I think there's going to be a time perhaps when they don't. Perhaps that's when the wave will slow down. But for now, that's something that we're really grateful for, is that we do have that every 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And you have your subscriptions as well, which is a really good business model.
I want to talk to you about that because subscriptions for us has changed our business model entirely.
Yeah, for sure. a real key part of our business now, especially as things are calming down, as that wave is kind of quieting down, having the subscriptions as like a core bit of income.
It's more than subscriptions though, isn't it? You've marketed it quite well.
Yeah,
It's like,
I think we have.
It's the club. It's like the running club thing for athletic
Yeah,
brands.
absolutely.
Yeah. We have, so you get a box every month. So again, they don't have to wait the 12 months for something to come.
So even if I signed up to a subscription today, I'd get a box every month?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So they don't have to wait 12 months for it to start. And I release spaces as and when they become available. You know, I could have plenty more people in the club, I think, from how many people are online during a release time.
Yeah.
But I need to also keep up with my other orders. I also want time to be able to do the seasonal releases. I want time to be able to work on creative stuff for me and to expand the business and expand my skills. So that puts a cap on the club to a certain extent, which again keeps the demand high, I guess.
Yeah, it does. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. And that's every month. Like all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's subscription day again. They come around really quick. And it's a lot to kind of get through, but
Chris, we think
working
quarterly
well.
subscriptions come round fast enough for the magazine, never mind
Every month.
monthly.
Yeah. So they get normally 5 to 6 stems a month, depending on the styles that I do.
Oh wow, right, okay.
I choose the designs, choose the colours.
Everyone gets the same?
Most of the time.
Yeah.
If I want to try something else, then I'll try that's the thing, is it gives me time to kind of experiment with things as well. Generally they get the same because it's a more efficient way to work for me to batch make. Some people work to certain colours, so they're building a bouquet in blues and greens, so they'll request blues and greens, so they'll get probably the same style of flowers but just in different colours perhaps than the colours I've chosen for that month. So it's nice that I get to then work on different pieces for each month and see everybody's bouquets growing, which is kind of cool.
And you ship internationally?
Yeah. So pretty much everywhere that Royal Mail will send to.
Good.
But you ship glass internationally.
Yeah. And we do all right with it. Like people always are worried about it, but yeah, I think we've got it down. Every now and again you'll get breakages, but they normally cluster together, so you kind of know that's just a really heavy-handed postman. Yeah.
Right.
Because we'll get a few at the same time that have all gone out on the same day.
Yeah.
So you think,
okay.
He's probably just lobbed that in the van.
Yeah.
But generally, considering they go far and wide, they do quite well. Sometimes boxes will arrive a bit beaten up, but the stuff inside is fine.
Yeah.
Which is really encouraging. It means that we've kind of got it down. So
Yeah. Do you know how many countries you're shipping to?
no, a lot. I think so.
It's good to
Did
have
you ever
an
think that would be possible from literally finding a hut in Canada in the Canadian mountains?
No, I never thought that would work. Like you say, the shipping it is always, that's I guess why I stuck to jewellery for a long time, because that felt safer to ship. The flowers, I was like, well, it could only work at a fair.
Yeah.
And then I posted some to myself and was like, oh,
Actually,
these survived.
okay. Yeah.
So you've done the testing,
Yeah.
posting it to yourself as well.
And then I sent some to America,
Yep.
and that worked okay, to family over there. You think, okay, maybe
This is possible.
we could do this.
You took the risk and did it.
Was there an aha moment that was, or is because it sounds like everything now has been, some people look for an aha moment which never comes. Actually, the aha moment can just be a build of 7 or 8 years worth of mistakes and mess ups. What was it?
I think Andrew's comment to try putting the flowers together for people really helped. And then I just kind of stopped doing jewellery. I just kind of took the plunge and committed to it and was like, right, I'm not making those products anymore. And people were asking me and I said no. And that was a tricky thing to do when you're not making that much money, to turn work away.
Yeah.
But I think it was really necessary to just really focus. Like I am the Glass Florist now, so I don't make jewellery anymore. I don't make, certain things that don't fit within that remit.
Yeah.
Because I think you've got to be careful to protect the branding itself as well. So I think going from making everything to just focusing on 20% of my range really worked. And I guess that proved itself to be its aha moment.
Yeah.
Once I'd done it. I didn't know at the time it was going to be, but I hoped it would be. And then when it worked, it's like, okay.
That's
But what I thought would work has worked.
Yeah, you've
Nice.
created a really strong brand for yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's also very clear what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Like from the Glass Florist to you're constantly posting pictures and videos. That's how we found you. Obviously the cover of edition, it's the cover of edition 11.
Up there.
Up there you go.
On display.
There's not a lot of people doing it.
No, especially not in the UK. I think glass generally is bigger in like Canada and America. And perhaps that's why my audience is predominantly over there.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's bigger over there?
I don't know. I don't know if it's because they have more space. So they've got space for these workshops. Like you can't do this in your house. You can't do this in your front room or your bedroom. Like you do need a workshop. Yeah. So whether because they have more space, they can do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. They have a lot of space over there.
We are noticing a direct correlation between house prices, stroke size, and density of craftspeople in areas.
Interesting.
Huge difference. The south of America where we were, there was craftsmen on every corner. Sheffield, lots in Scotland. Like where house prices are lesser, or where or inversely where there is more space, there's a lot more craftspeople.
Because if you're in a new build terrace house, you can't be doing this. You can't be blacksmithing. You can't be doing. You can do sewing, or knitting, in other space. Exactly.
Which are huge costs that some people just don't have available.
And often the spaces that are available aren't very creatively inspiring. I could probably get an industrial unit, but I don't know that I'd want to go there every day. And I don't know if I could be creative in a space like that. I'm so blessed that one, this is attached to our house, but two, it's just a really nice place to work.
Yes.
It's peaceful and it's beautiful and inspiring, which really helps.
Have you ever done workshops?
I used to in our last house. I used to do workshops. I used to teach people how to do it. The insurance is tricky because it's fire and it's just getting the general public in to work with fire is tricky.
Yeah.
I found the hours like unsociable because it's evenings and weekends, which is the time that I wanted to have off.
Yeah.
And I think when you work on your own, you get quite used to being on your own. So then having other people in, I found quite like
drains you, right?
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah, it's like quite jarring because you're so used to just being insular and being on your own. And then all of a sudden you've got to be this bright, bubbly person and have people in. And it's at the evening and you've probably worked all day anyway. And then you're having them in. So I haven't done it for a long time. I do get asked to do it. And it's not something I'm considering at the moment.
Right.
One, we don't have that much space. Two, because it's attached to our house, it feels a bit weird.
Yeah.
Inviting people in too much, And I think
you still need your space, don't you?
Yeah,
just because you work here and because it's available on social media, you still need your space to switch off.
For sure.
That's definitely one thing. We operate our business from the house, and definitely one thing we notice. Like, you just want out. Yeah. You just want out some days.
Sometimes you just got to switch off.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's important.
Yeah. But if you guys had a farm and did creative retreats, I'd come teach there.
I told her about the place in
Get the digger out.
Oh yeah, get the digger out.
Yeah, anyone listening, Kate thinks it's a bad idea if I buy
I never said it was a bad idea. I just said
big old farm building and
time
just
and
wreck
place.
it.
Yeah.
We'll all chip in.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. See, we've already instilled labour.
Yeah.
Free
You've got
labour,
an
it'd be
army of
great.
us.
Yeah. Think of the glass windows, it'll be great.
Yeah.
Think of the flowers out front.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Just like one thing at a time.
Kate's very good at reining me in, I'll tell you that much.
You always need someone like that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I want to do this, I want to do that. But I can be like that. There's so many things that I want to do, and like you're just like, right, hold on a minute. You can only do so much
For sure.
at one time.
Good
Otherwise,
segue.
Yeah.
How do you stop yourself?
I mean, I'm not very good at that.
You could just keep working, right?
Forever. Especially when I know that there's work to get done. I'm never going to get to the end of it. It's not like, okay, all the orders are up straight. I can now stop. So there is always a temptation when people come to you and say, oh, I've just found you. I didn't realise your lead time's so long. I'm getting married in 3 months. Can you fit me in? You think, oh, I really want to.
Yeah.
Really want to. Yeah. And it's just being fair to everybody else.
Yeah.
I recently saw this Instagram thing that said, oh great, I've got a day to relax, and then like an hour later it says, is there a way to relax that can be more productive? And I'm like, couldn't be any more accurate than that.
For sure.
Like you're sitting there like, but I could just be doing that.
Exactly. And even if we have a day off, it's like, oh, we need to get content of this.
Yeah.
Oh, let's take a video of that.
Content. Everything is content, right?
Everything.
Like you cannot put your phone down.
No.
And I do try sometimes, but
I really struggle with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Not putting my phone down. I'd love to just. I'm so tempted to get a flip phone again. Yeah. I'm all for it.
Andrew's got this like, I think it's called the brick, and you can like tap it, and
I've seen that.
blocks like certain
So is it good?
He's finding it really good, yeah, because he puts it like downstairs. So in the morning he'll tap it, means he can't get on his apps, and then if he wants to go back on it later, he's got to go all the way downstairs to then tap it to unlock it again.
Interesting.
And it only blocks certain things, so you can still use your phone for other stuff. So
I've seen loads of ads for that. It does look good.
yeah, he reckons it's made a difference.
Even just tapping your phone before you head out to the office, like, well, that's exactly what he's doing, I suppose, just heading up, like,
Yeah.
it would make a difference.
Yeah. I watch a lot on my phone whilst I'm working. When I'm busy, I will lean into just watching TV, but you very quickly run out of TV and end up just watching trash. So I'm trying to listen to like podcasts and audiobooks and stuff like that more.
Yeah.
And like if I'm getting to the point in the day where I'm really starting to flag, then I'm like, okay, now you can put your show on.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not just wasting 8 hours a day watching rubbish.
Yeah,
I can be
yeah.
productive with it because I'm in
Learning.
the point where I can work and pay attention to something else, which is really good.
Yeah, because you just know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, it's kind of, natural. So if I'm not, especially if I'm making stuff I've made before, then I can just listen to something and use that time productively, which is quite good.
Yeah. Is that flow state for you?
I think so.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I'm not in it all the time, for sure.
No.
There's sometimes where you're like, oh, this feels like it's going slow or I'm making mistakes or whatever. But when you can really just settle in. And there's certain days of the week that I feel that happens more naturally for me.
Yeah.
I think just generally with our routine and things, it's like on a Wednesday or a Thursday. Wednesday afternoon is like golden time.
Yeah.
I know I can just, I've probably got good telly that's racked up during the week, like my episodes I like to watch. And in the afternoon, I put those on. No distractions. I've not got any other jobs that I need to do.
And just sit.
How do you deal with mistakes?
Better than I used to.
It's frustrating.
For sure. I think if I'm making a flower and I make a mistake, then it doesn't take too much time to just kind of remake it. It's when I make big mistakes, like if I've made a load of things. I caught myself the other day, I was batch making some bouquets and I'd chosen the wrong length wire for the vase that it needed to fit in. And I thought, I'm like 2 hours into this and I've chosen the wrong length. These are all going to be too short.
Oh no.
That I get quite frustrated about.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to preempt that. And then you get mad at yourself because it's such a silly mistake to make. But you know it's because you're busy. And I think it's just giving yourself grace. You know, you're juggling so much.
Yeah. Giving
It
yourself
could be
grace
worse.
is really important.
You struggle
Very
with
difficult. Yeah, everything has to be perfect.
Yeah.
The plan A's on it has to be perfect. Which it never is, by the way. Is that something you've had to learn?
Yeah. And I think I'm still learning it. I think that's my biggest fear with the show in America is that I know, like realistically, the day won't be perfect.
Yeah.
There's too many things going on. It's too complex. I've not done half of it before. It's too new. There's too many people involved. It cannot be 100% perfect, but I want it to be perfect. And it's kind of preempting that it won't be and getting used to that so that when it happens,
you're like, I know this is going to happen. Like,
exactly.
I knew it wasn't going to be perfect.
it's not a case of perfect or failure. There's amazing, great, really good. You know, there's so many levels before it's failure. Whereas I think to me, it's like perfect or awful.
I don't think people will notice. That's the thing.
That is my perfect properly.
Yes,
People
it's-
won't necessarily know.
Well, that's the thought experiment here is what does perfect look like to you?
Yeah. Not doing anything where I then am awake all night being like, why did I say that to that person? Or why did I say that? Why did I trip over as I walked out, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
But they're those things that nobody else is going to notice.
No. Are you an overthinker in that way?
Yeah, everything.
Does it hinder you or does it fuel you?
I think mostly fuels me. I think that's probably why I've always been creative, because I overthink, so doing something with my hands is really helpful.
I don't think being an overthinker is a bad thing.
No, if you can
I think
harness it right.
Nail on the head, absolutely. If you can harness it right, I wouldn't be where I am in my previous job or in this job without being an overthinker. Because we wouldn't have learned, and you're the same, Kate, you wouldn't have learned
Yeah.
everything you've known about magazine publishing with having zero publishing background without overthinking everything.
Yeah,
I do overthink far too much.
Yeah.
But then again,
it gets you places.
it does.
Can that be hard to be creative for you whilst overthinking?
I think so. I tend to kind of have that period of overthinking. So like when I was designing the collection for Corning, the weeks and months before that were really stressful. But once I've made that decision, I'm like, right, okay, well, I can't go back now. So we're committed to this and this is what we're doing. So once I've kind of made that point to be like, case closed, then that's quite good. I can switch off from that, which is helpful. And I quite enjoyed this period of making all the products for Corning because it was just in that mindset. There's no going back.
Yeah.
So you're just making, and you know how to do this. So just do that. Whereas now that I've made them and they're ready to ship, I feel more anxious and nervous about it because I'm now into the next like phase of things to think about.
Yeah.
Whereas before I could just be like, oh, we'll deal with that once everything's made.
Yeah.
And now everything's made and I've got to deal with that stuff.
So for our listeners, tell us about Corning, because obviously they'll be like, I've heard that a few times now. No idea what it is.
So there's a museum in New York called the Corning Museum of Glass. It's I believe, the biggest glass museum in the world. I was invited last year to do like a demonstration and sell some pieces there. And then this year we've been invited to do a much bigger show in their amphitheatre. And,
Solo, right?
so there'll be the hot glass team they're making a bigger version of my flowers,
cool.
like in the background to kind of just showcase that, which will be kind of cool. But I think like essentially I'm in a spotlight.
Yeah.
So that would be cool. Very different to last time, because last time was just like a little demo section of the museum. And then I've got a collection of 29 new designs that's going to be released there. The biggest release of designs I've ever done at once. Normally I do like 4 or 5 in a release, and this is 29. And opportunity to buy those in person, as well as there's like a brunch and a meet and greet and things like that.
Yes.
Which feels wild. Like, why would people want to come and meet me?
Why
I'm
not?
just me.
I know, but you've created that
It is.
brand online that people are like, she is a celebrity to me. You know,
It is a different world though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, why would people want to come and see you? Well, you do really good work, that's why. And it really is just that. But I think for a lot of people, like I know Brian, he struggles with it.
It's the imposter syndrome, isn't it?
Yeah,
For sure.
absolutely.
And being at a museum that is just glass, I'm like, well, my stuff's technically not that tricky compared to the stuff that's here. So I kind of feel imposter syndrome to like the people that are coming to see me, but also the people at the museum. I don't want them to look at it and be like, why are all these people so bothered about this?
Yeah, but you say that. You say technically not that tricky. I'm pretty sure I could make something look like a snot. Right?
We'll see later.
Yeah, it look like a bogey. It's not going to look like a glass, is it? So
Trust you to
it's almost
say
inevitable, isn't it? Like,
It's true.
it's even like we've done some ceramics works, and I mean, I can make a pretty sweet bowl that looks something like a potato, but like it's not all these.
maybe you're good at other things. So.
My point exactly.
Yeah, it's
but
just
then
your-
I think what I'm doing, like I'll explain stupid stuff to people, some of the stuff that I do in my other work, and
Yeah.
people are like, and to me that's not that technical. Like
natural.
I'm doing. You're always looking at the top echelon of what you're doing, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure.
There's the guy that makes the fish out of glass.
Oh, that's amazing.
You've seen that?
They're amazing. I've seen the dinosaur guy as well.
Yeah,
No?
I've seen it
I'm not.
with all him as
They're
well, yeah.
insane.
Like
It's just
a dinosaur.
wild, eh?
Yeah.
You're just like, how? I don't know.
So
then-
impressive.
That's also on a larger scale. They could be looking at yours thinking, how does she work on a small scale?
Yeah.
It's true.
So
It's true.
intricate and
Yeah, yeah.
Very tiny.
tiny.
So 29 releases in a collection.
Yeah.
What
Just
does that?
how?
Yeah, well, first off, I'm like, is there 29
Like,
different
why
kinds
did
of
I do
flowers? No, we'll do the why after. But how 29? Like, what's different about them all? Where did the collection come from? What was the inspiration for the collection?
So essentially it's a travel collection. So I wanted to base like where my inspirations have come from. I think the pieces I produce are based on my experiences and what, essentially it comes from my brain. So it's why am I choosing those colours and those flowers to go together? And I was trying to dig into that as to why I would think I wanted to make this specific piece. And I think that comes from the experiences you have and the way that's shaped you. And I think that comes for me from experiences I've had in different countries. So I've chosen 4 countries that have kind of had quite an impact in our life. So one's England, because obviously we live here and that's, where the workshop is. And I think because we have such an American audience, the fact I'm British is quite a thing.
Yeah.
It's special
for
to
sure.
them.
Yeah.
I chose India because when I was at school, we did a trip called World Challenge to India. So I was like 15, 16. We went out for a month.
I'd love to go to India.
It was so
Yeah,
cool.
India's on our list.
Trekked in the
100%.
Himalayas, like did all sorts. And I think at that age, at like 15, fending for yourself in India is like quite formative. And
I can
like
imagine,
yeah, super formative. Made friendships there with people that I'm still friends with now. It's got a special place in my heart. One of them was Finland, where we went start of last year. Just that is the most peace I've had since being a small business owner.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Wow.
Just, it was kind of Northern Lights kind of territory. I think the quiet helped. But yeah, that was the most brain space I've had. And I think that really helped at that point in our business when everything was so crazy
Oh, I can
to
imagine
have that. So that's, super special. And also the colours are just
Not big in
wild.
Finland either.
And even just seeing the snow, like I didn't know white could be
So white.
so complex, you know, how
Yeah.
so many shades of white.
Yeah.
And yes, that's
And
really
like
special.
you say, I'm just thinking how much my head normally runs, like going anywhere quiet, like when we have been in Norway in the snow and higher up in Norway, anyone that's not been in the quiet in the snow, it's a very different quiet.
Very different
because
quiet.
it damps all of the sound. It's completely still.
And then you're very much just alone with your thoughts.
Yeah.
And it was nice to have that and be able to find still not panic.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay,
sometimes
that's
I think
interesting.
when you're alone in your thoughts, it can go a bit crazy, especially when you're an overthinker. I thought maybe there was a chance that trip would be tricky for me and I wouldn't have the distractions and be able to do stuff in my hands and that would send me a bit, you know, off kilter. But no, I found peace, and especially at a time like that when things were really busy. And then the last country is Japan. We went there just before we bought our first house. And like the architecture and everything about Japan, I'm obsessed with, like desperate to go back. So I had to include that. So then I split the collection into those 4 countries.
Yeah.
So the museum ordered a certain quantity of different sizes at the price points they thought would kind of work with the audience. So then I split each of those across the 4 countries, which is why I've ended up with so many designs.
That's fine.
I could have simplified it.
And I loved your little stickers that you made for them, like
Yeah.
all the different countries. That's just a really nice touch.
Yeah, and that's going to be part of the display on the day. And then I've done like flyers that are like postcards to kind of explain why I've chosen those countries and some photos from our trips and stuff to make it a bit more personal.
You mentioned something there, still not panic. Is your default setting panic?
I think it has been for a long time. I think this wave has been very busy and you've had to kind of be thinking 4 or 5 steps ahead and preempting the stuff that I do now, especially because the orders are being made 12 months later. So I've got to think, right, if I'm taking this order today, what's the situation going to be like in a year's time, you know? Yeah. So we were doing that, and then I was like, why am I always behind? But it's because we introduced new flower club spaces, and obviously that's every month. So you add 30 new spaces, that's 30 new orders every month that I hadn't contemplated when I worked out the lead times 4 months before, you know? So I think that overthinking can be...
I can totally understand.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're doing really well to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
To hold it all together.
Yeah.
And like
In an
stock and
otherwise
things like
crazy
that.
world,
You
yeah.
take orders for a year in advance. What if that vase is no longer sold? So then you've got to kind of like pre-order everything, but then where do you store it? And have you got your quantities right? And
So your vases, where do you get? Are they made locally or?
so some of them are. When I do releases, I will get. I've worked with artists kind of around the UK to do special pieces. We also get a vase when we go on holiday. We try and get a vase at each place.
Nice.
Which my plan is to do this like travel collection, which has kind of gone on the back burner since things have been so crazy. So I've got a whole box of really cool vases to work on, which I guess fed into the Corning collection because I knew I wanted to do that. So it was kind of bringing that in. And then a lot of the other stuff is kind of more wholesale kind of commercial stuff because of the quantities I need and because I need it like long term. So you've got to get stuff that's going to be continue to be sold. Yeah. But we do have like a self-store unit that's just full of vases.
Oh, wow.
Because, if I go to order them in 12 months' time and they've discontinued them, what do I do?
Yeah,
So it's
right. You've got a
forward
problem at
thinking,
that point. Mm.
It's a lot of forward thinking.
Yeah, for sure. And then the same with like packaging materials. I can only store so much here. This space isn't huge. So it's just having backups on everything because if things don't keep moving, we get backlogged quite quickly. So it's got to keep running smoothly, essentially.
How does I'm going to go back to the panic thing. How does the panic differ for you? So there's going to be a lot of people listening to this who know you, who know your account, who can see this is a success, who would love to be in your position. Because you're in a very fortunate position, and you know that. And like
for sure.
from the
Very
chats
grateful
before
for
this,
it.
you're very grateful for it. So it's not to downplay that. But the panic of being successful versus the panic of trying to make it, you've had both.
Yeah, for sure.
One for a lot longer than the other, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the panic
Still
of not being
learning
able
the
to
ropes
make
there.
it for a lot longer than the panic of having made it.
Yeah.
Made it, whatever that looks like to anybody. What's the key differences for that? Or what's the... let's go with that first. What's the key differences of that?
I think this stage I'm at, there's people to let down. You know, if I'm not working and orders aren't getting made, then there are people that are expecting things of me. And then you're letting people down, and then that damages your reputation. And then, you know, will this stop at some point? And I'll go back to that level where I wasn't getting enough orders. Whereas beforehand, I guess I was letting myself down. But because I didn't have as many customers, you're not letting them down. I think that's something for me, is that the pressure to not affect other people is probably the biggest part.
Yeah, that's hard.
So for anyone listening that is trying to make it, again, whatever that looks like, what are the steadfast rules you would give if this was the Donna mentorship?
I mean, I don't pretend that I know how this has happened or how to do it or recreate it. I think consistency, especially on social media, like it's not a case of just putting a post up and that doing well. You know, it took 10 years to get to 10,000 followers. So we were putting up frequently. Yeah. But I think at the point where I was like, right, this needs to happen, it was a everyday thing with Reels. Doing what Instagram are asking you. You know, they are quite good at saying, look, now we're looking for carousel posts, or now we're looking for Reels, or we're going to prioritise stories or whatever. And doing what they're asking for, because they're asking it for a reason, and they're going to reward the people that are doing it.
Yep.
And getting on stories a lot more. I think it's super daunting to like put your face on things and to do talking stories, but it's not permanent, especially on stories. You know, it's gone within 24 hours. And people want that authenticity. They want to see who you are. And I don't think you can get that so much just by having beautiful photos of the product or beautiful photos even of the process of making the product. I do think you've got to bring you into it, because people buy into you as much as the product, especially when it's a handmade kind of thing. They want to see the whole story.
I mean, you're literally on it daily, like updating people, and then that's when people want to actually come onto Instagram and be like, I wonder what she's up to today.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you know, they're following you in your life. Like,
and they get invested in the process as well. Even the people that aren't coming to New York Show very much know about it and are invested in it and want to see you do well. And I think that's something, is fostering that community of people that just are rooting for you. Yeah, I think that's
you need that.
really important.
You know,
that keeps you going.
It does. It does.
Sure.
And people are like, oh, you're doing great. And like, can't wait to see the next thing you do. And it makes you want to keep going, you know?
Sure.
You need your fan base, as you put it, you know?
Exactly.
I think about all the amazing stuff we've seen online. I'd say the amazing stuff is about 3 times as much as the amazing people. Because you see so many accounts that have, I found one just the other night, I sent you, the Japanese blacksmith, but there's not a single picture of him.
Yeah.
Like, who is he? How do I find, or her? Like,
it's like a mystery, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, I get there's some mystique in that, but there needs to be a little bit of mystique in it and still be contactable. Yours is, I think you've got a very, I know a lot of ceramicists do it as well. It's really transparent. It's literally camera. Yeah. You've got camera, your extraction hoods, your burner, well, your glass, your burner, you.
Exactly.
It is just, that is everything.
And
that
it's
requires.
not always the perfect shot. And ideally you want a perfect shot every time, and you want it to be the most aesthetic thing. It isn't always. You can see the boxes at the top and all the rest of it. It's not necessarily framed beautifully, but it's the most authentic shot. And I think it's important for people to be able to see how it's made.
We think that a lot about the podcast. Like, we could have hours, we could have employed other people to come in and do the camera, we could have 4 or 5 setups, but then are we going to, and I would really like to get more cameras to swap between, but then are we going to get as authentic a conversation? Because makers aren't typically media trained. Are you going to freeze up with, you know, angles everywhere? And
it's easier to
don't
forget.
like that angle, or my workshop's not very clean that way. Do you know, it's just like,
for sure.
And it can get overcomplicated. Like, you could spend so much time like trying to get the perfect shot that you're actually I didn't do that shot at all.
And when you're busy, for me, just whacking it up there and pressing play, I'm more likely to do that than, like, we've got an arm here that's got a thing on it and I can go, I don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't do it. I know I should, but I haven't got the time to be faffing with it. So I don't do it, but I will just whack it up there and get the shot. And it's more important to get the shot than get nothing. I was watching one of the ones you guys did when you were in Ballarat the other day. And you were talking about how it is important just to show it. Yeah. You know, your workshop might not be perfectly tidy. You know, you might not look the way you want to look, like, but people just want to see stuff. They just want to see behind the scenes. And instantly I turned it off, put my camera up and was like, right, I'm, you know, cutting some glass or I'm doing this or whatever. I was like, people need to see this.
Yeah.
I don't trust a fully clean workshop.
No,
Everyone keeps saying to us when we arrive, I made sure it was really clean. I was like, we don't mind. Like, it's
used. Yeah,
it
exactly.
needs to be, right?
Yeah,
it's
for
not
sure.
a showroom. And that's really important.
Yeah.
So talk us through the actual making of your flowers.
Yeah. So we've got the torch here. This is a fairly new torch. So this will do like the soft glass stuff that I do, the lampwork stuff using this glass. But then it also will do boro glass, which is this stuff. So this can make bigger flowers and bigger pieces in general.
Why is that?
Because it hasn't got like the heat shock in it.
Right.
So boro is similar to the glass that they use for like Pyrex dishes and things like that.
Right.
So it can withstand temperatures and not shock and break.
Right.
Whereas the soft glass that I use, if it gets too cold, it will shatter. So I can make a flower a certain size, but I have to keep it all in the flame at the same time, else it'll get too cold and it'll break. Whereas with boro...
All right, okay. So the actual, the head of...
That
I mean,
limits
you're
you.
talking it all being in the cone of the flame.
To a certain extent, it's got... Or you've got to keep it moving within the
Right.
flame, which if it's too big, you can't keep all of it in the flame enough to keep it warm enough. Whereas with the boro, it's more forgiving. You could literally make a petal, put it down, tomorrow come back to it, make another petal, join them together. You know,
Right.
it can go right back down to room temperature and it will be okay.
Interesting.
So this torch will essentially do both, which is why I got it, because I want to start doing more of the boro stuff. Haven't quite got around to it just yet, but I will.
So what's the difference with it that it does both? Is it...
It just needs to get hotter because boro
Right.
needs a higher temperature to
Right.
melt. So this can take more gas and more oxygen, which is why I've now got 2 oxygen concentrators down here. So these just take in oxygen from the air essentially and pump it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rather than buying a bottled oxygen in.
Yeah, because you just get through it super quick.
Right.
The sizes you can get and the kind of strength and everything else that you need, the pressure. Whereas these don't consume anything, they just consume what's in the air. So I don't have to replace them. These will just go forever. Extraction. So these hoods go into this unit here, and this has got like layers of different filters in for different
Yeah.
things. And then do have an extractor fan on the wall. I used to just have like a bathroom fan, extractor fan up there, and thought that was okay. And then me and Andrew, considering he's not in here that much, both started to feel quite poorly. Like I was getting headaches and stuff and felt weird, and then he was. And I thought, well, if he's getting it as well, there's probably something up here.
Yeah.
So we did some research, went to the doctor because the doctor's not going to know what I do and what the risk could be. So we went to him and we said, I think we've got arsenic poisoning. Can you test us for it? They tested us for it. Mine was so high, the doctor phoned me, but I was on holiday and he was like going to drive around to the house. He thought I'd have passed out because I wasn't
Really?
answering the phone. Yeah. And then the nurse was like, no, she's on holiday. It's fine. It's fine.
Wow.
So we took the fan out, put this bigger one in, got retested. Andrew was okay, but mine was still too high. So we put this in and now like I'm fine. But
Yeah, you need safety first.
yeah.
You don't think about that, do
No.
you? Like,
I thought having the
poison's
door
pretty,
open and the space being bigger than my last one, I thought it was fine. And we contacted like one of the glass suppliers and said, oh, this is the size we've got. And this is our like size of the workshop. And you do mean like 100 cubic whatevers rather than 10. And we were like, no, 10. He was like, oh, no, that's going to be a problem.
Wow.
So it's something to consider, which is why they recommend you don't do it in your house. And
Yeah.
also your house insurance don't like it if you do it in your house.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, trying to get all of the
It's a learning.
safety stuff.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
for sure. And the safety is super important because the stuff you burn when you melt glass isn't the best for you.
Yeah, and it's longevity, isn't it? Like, you clearly want to do this for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not uncommon to hear craftspeople that can't do certain things.
Yeah.
We know craft people who's they're not old by any means, and their hands are going or their eyes are
Exactly,
going and stuff
yeah.
like that. And
For sure.
certainly in my work, I think a lot of the welders that are just cracking on and fabricators that are cracking on, and yeah, you can definitely see visible pain.
Yeah.
So extraction fans, all that
Yeah.
process.
So I use these rods over here, which I buy wholesale, so they come a lot longer, like over here.
Right.
We buy those directly from Italy. They come from Murano, which is kind of cool. And then you essentially just melt them slowly in the flame so that you're helping that heat shock process. If you just whack them in the hottest part of the flame, they're going to spit and smash. And that's why you get burns all over your arms like I have, not your neck. And then I've got like different tools, kind of like tweezer tools and things like that, and just work gradually, like petal by petal, essentially. You can't mix the colours. That's something people always ask. It's not
Right,
like
okay.
paint. You can't
Yeah.
like blend them together.
So
It
the
doesn't-
colours are put in the manufacturing
yeah,
process.
Yeah, so the colours are what the colours are. I can't like lighten a colour by adding white to it or anything.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't it'd be nice if it worked like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unfortunately not. There's quite a big range of glass, which is helpful.
Yeah, I can see all the different colours.
Less so with the Boro than with the soft glass, but more seems to be coming out, I think, as crafts are becoming a bit more respected and a bit more kind of appreciated. It's less functional colours, and they are realising it's being used more artistically, which is really good. The pinks are more expensive. Pinks and purples are more expensive to buy because they've got gold in to make them look brighter. Yeah, so you don't get
anyone
as
that's got a pink or purple flower got a good deal.
Yeah. You just don't get as wider selection of the pinks and purples. Like I have got so many shades of blue and green, but pinks and purples aren't always as good.
Interesting.
I do like. I can see the orange. I'm really into orange at the minute. It looks so nice. Very pretty.
And pink.
It's a really interesting finish, though, isn't it? Because you look at like the colours are like super vibrant, very solid colour, but when they're finished,
you see the gloss and like everything.
And they have like depth to them. Like the ivory will be different colours depending kind of almost how much pressure you've put on it or how like thick it is and things like that. It does seem to kind of take.
That's a flower, isn't it? They all like the flowers themselves have that.
Which is a nice part of the process, is that I'm not trying to make every single petal identical.
Yeah.
Because in nature they're not.
No.
You know?
No.
And I think it looks more realistic if they're not identical.
Not quite.
And just have a bit more like flow to them and movement.
How long did it take you to really, well, first, would you consider yourself having mastered it, and how long did it take you to...
Definitely not a master. Still figuring it out.
How long did it take you to like get competent? Because it feels like the kind of thing that you could knock a lot out of, but that means you can also make a lot of mistakes and keep making mistakes.
For sure. I think I'm still learning, especially as I change equipment. Like this torch has made working with pink easier. The last one, pink was so easy to burn. So if the oxygen and O2 levels aren't quite right, it can burn.
On different colours, different temperatures?
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and like different colours will take longer to melt than others. Some are just like denser. Some colours will burn. They kind of go black, like almost oxidised kind of thing in the flame. So figuring that out is still a learning process, because that will change. Every time I turn the torch on, I'm going to set the setting slightly different. It's just natural. It's not like you change it to number 1 or change it to number 2. It's not like on a cooker where it's
They're not indexed.
No, it's just a gradual, turn. So I can have it wherever I want, but trying to get that balanced every time is tricky.
And how are you balancing that? How are you telling the temperature?
By eye, mostly.
Right.
So the flame kind of has, they call them candles, which is like the brightest blue bit at the bottom, and then it goes like orange and then white. And it's kind of the height of those candles, essentially. You can tell if it's balanced or not. And I will have to change that depending on what colour I'm working on.
So when you say the height of the candles, the distance from the
Right
gas
at the end
nozzle
of the flame.
to the... Right,
yeah,
okay.
and they'll probably come out to say there. And then the rest of the flame will be like up here. But you don't want it too, like, they call it bushy. You don't want it too bushy.
Do you think it's something that can be mastered? Or do you think it's one of those... Because there's definitely crafts that cannot be mastered, or true craftsmen that don't consider a craft that can be mastered because you can continually get better at it. And with something so organic, I wonder if it is that way.
I think so. I think there will always be more you can do to it as your skills develop. Like, you see people, like in Venice, that are making insane things with insane detail. So you can always get that step better. And I think everyone gets really good in their lane. But like lampwork, there's so many different things you could do. And you could show me something else in lampwork and I wouldn't even know where to start doing it, Yeah. So
do you consider the craft lampwork rather than obviously making the
I think
the
so.
overarching craft?
Yeah, that's what I'd say.
Have you ever had any happy accidents? Because sometimes,
Yeah.
there possibly could be.
I guess some of the flowers that I make, people will show me like wedding bouquets and I recreate those. And sometimes there'll be a flower from those that you kind of experiment with and you're like, oh, actually, this is my new favourite flower. Like, this is a great flower. Or I can take that, but tweak it and that will make my sunflower better. Or that's a better way of doing a poppy. And you're not necessarily making a poppy, but you just find a new way of doing a petal that works better. And you think, all right, I could bring that into this design. So that's always good.
And does that constantly fuel where you feel the business can go?
Yeah, definitely. I think you just learn different techniques or find new tools and you're like, I could do loads of stuff with this.
And that's so exciting.
I got glass scissors the other day. I was like, how did I not, like glass scissors?
Glass
You, like,
scissors?
cut it, yeah. As it's hot. Makes a really
What do they look
satisfying
like?
noise. smash.
Oh,
They're
wow.
literally like scissors.
Oh, they're like a really stout scissor.
Yeah, but as it's in the glass, it like makes a really satisfying like crunch. It's very cool. So that's like just
That's
giving
good,
me so many.
like over sound on like your reels and stuff.
Yeah.
What is it, ASMR?
ASMR,
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
Yeah.
But that's kind of opened up doors to do different things. But like my most used tool is just these tweezers.
Tweezers, yeah.
I use those for like everything, and they're just tweezers.
And you are just stretching and moving the glass
yeah.
when it's hot.
Yeah, that's all you're doing.
What is it? So presumably it's going into like a plasticine type texture just because of the heat.
Yeah, and it's knowing how runny it needs to be to work with, because it will turn into essentially honey, and it will
Right.
drop on the bench, which is why I've got all these burn
yeah.
marks.
Ah, okay.
So if it gets too hot, then you can't work with it. It's too fast, it moves too fast. So it's working out that soft spot that still gives you the manipulation, because if it's too cool, you can't really do anything with it.
Right.
But you can like reheat it and kind of then play with it again, and you can normally correct your mistakes.
Yeah.
And it's whether it's worth the time of correcting the mistake or just starting again.
Is it often worth correcting it, or is it one of those crafts that actually just keep making another one?
I guess it depends how far into it you are,
Yeah.
and how catastrophic it is. If you've cracked a rose all the way through the middle because you've let it get too cold, then it's like,
Is that the main risk when you're making that
Yeah.
it gets too cold?
yeah, and it would just crack. And sometimes I think, if I'm making it for me, then perhaps I'd just fix it and keep it. But I would worry that then being transported, perhaps that crack would become a problem, and it's not worth it to risk it breaking for the customer. I'd rather just remake it.
Yeah, you've also got a brand to protect as well,
Yeah,
don't you?
exactly. My
And that's one of the
mother-in-law has a
important
very
things.
full bouquet of wonky flowers.
I'll take the one.
Yeah, that's quite nice.
She always sees me put them in the bin. She's like, no, I'll have that one.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
So she's got a very original bouquet now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like that, just like randoms.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll have a story on their own, right?
For sure.
You don't seem to have a lot of them kicking about.
No. I think I've got 3 flowers in the house,
I was
and that
about
was
to
only
say, do you
recently.
design for
I was
yourself?
trying to run that through my head when we came through. I was like, I don't see any
No.
of them work.
Every time I'm like, right, I'll buy vases and be like, we're going to have a great bouquet. But I just don't get around to it.
No.
Never. I'd like to have them, but
Victim of your own success.
I never have the time.
It's true for a lot of people though. Like it really is true for a lot of people that make stuff, is they don't put the time in for themselves. Do you actively set aside time to experiment with new collections, or is that what things like the corning or the...
I would like to, and that's very much the plan, that going forward I'll have time to do that. Whereas it's when I did the corning collection, I set myself, this is your design week,
Yeah.
this is your time to kind of figure that out. But with new collections, I don't give myself as much time as
Yeah.
I'd like. It's kind of like, figure this out, rather than, oh, we could tweak it, and what if I tried it with this flower and that
Yeah.
flower? It's just like, okay, this looks good, let's go with it.
How do you think things would change if you did do that? Like for anyone else that's
Yeah.
stuck in the same trap, because I'm very, very aware that as the business becomes more successful for many makers, they actually become producers, not makers. There's a whole element of making that is the creative experimentation.
Sure. Yeah. I think I enjoy it more. Like, I really enjoyed making the corning collection because I was making something new.
Yeah, okay.
And there wasn't like boundaries as such. And I felt that the pieces I produced were much better than the other things I've been making, because I had the time to kind of put into it. And my skills have developed so much more. The pieces that I make for orders were ordered a year ago. So they're designs from a year plus ago. But my skill set has developed in that time, but I haven't brought out new stuff as such. So it'd be nice to just almost like completely clear the website and just do all new designs, because it's more fun for me, because I've been making the same pieces for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, another one of those, another one of those. So it'd be really fun to have all brand new stuff.
Would you just do it one day?
I think I will, but it still won't kick in for a year.
Yeah.
Because the orders for those I won't get to for 12 months.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So when people are ordering your one-offs that are on 12-month lead time, they're ordering not just a flower, they're ordering a specific
Most
bouquet.
of the time, yeah. We
Right.
do sell single stems, but mostly it's bouquets.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So really they are locked into what they've bought, haven't they?
Yeah, sometimes people come to you and be like, oh, we've redecorated, can I switch bouquet or whatever? Which is fine, I
Yeah.
don't mind that. Custom bouquets are fun, and wedding bouquets are
Yeah.
fun, because I get to be more creative. And I feel like that process, as well as the seasonal releases, is what develops my skill set.
Yeah.
And then I can then feed that into the next collection.
What about scale? Like doing things at scale. I don't mean I don't mean mass manufacture, I mean like doing bigger stuff. Is that something ever?
So that's what the Boro will help with. I'll
Right.
be able to do bigger flowers. I really want to do kind of like big garden flowers.
Right.
I think that would be really cool. At the moment, I'm limited to the size I make to perhaps this because of the heat shock and how big you can make them. But with Boro, I could work a lot bigger.
Right.
Like I could make 1 petal like that. And if you do
Oh, wow.
10 petals like that, you're going to make quite a big piece.
Yeah.
Obviously, it would take a lot longer.
I mean, you say garden flowers, one specifically for outside,
Yeah,
chunky
I think
stem
so.
on it.
Yeah, that you can like put in, you see all those metal ones
Yeah,
that you
loads.
get. I think it'd be really cool to have those in glass. I think the way the sun would catch them would be really beautiful.
Be
And
really
like,
nice, yeah.
even when it rains, like the way it would collect in the petals and it'd almost be like little bird baths, I
Yeah.
think it could be really cool. So that's
And they last a lot longer than real flowers.
for sure.
Yeah.
Gives you colour in the winter. So
That'd
that's
be
what
nice.
I'd like to do. That's kind of my avenue that I want to go down with the Boro stuff. So
Have you ever worked with like bigger companies? Like I can almost see like your flowers like in a perfume ad
I'd
or
love
something.
to do that. We worked with Rolls-Royce for a while. They were doing some demo pieces. We sent them some samples because they wanted to put them in like custom dashboards.
Oh, wow.
When they contacted me, I thought I was getting hacked or something. I was like, surely not. But yeah, we sent 2 batches to them. They were trying to work out the electronics for the flowers to like grow as
Sorry,
you
what?
like turn the car on. I know. I was like, I don't know how to do that, so I'll just have to leave that bit to you. They wanted like them to like move up the dash as you turn the car on,
Wow,
and then
that
the
is
petals
next
to like
level.
open. I was like, I don't know how to do that.
Wow.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, that takes a bit of engineering work behind that.
That's a bit
Yeah.
of animatronics,
Jack
that
my
is, isn't
hair.
it?
We'll go
Too
to
small
Rolls-Royce.
for me. I do heavy steel. So has many of those opportunities come across your desk? And how do you feel about them as well, I suppose, is a big question.
Not many. So that and Corning are kind of the only things like that I've had. I'd like to do like big installation pieces,
That would be super cool.
like in hotel lobbies and things like that.
Oh, I
you
could
know?
totally see that.
Almost like chandelier style or, bigger pieces, but made up of really small work, but on a bigger scale. I'd love to do that kind of thing. And I think hotels, they get through so many real flowers, like the environmental impact of that
Yeah.
must be really high. Like those
Yeah,
posh
yeah.
hotels have those massive bouquets everywhere. And I think there's going to have to be a movement towards them streamlining that. I think people are going to start kind of turning against that a little bit.
Once it becomes more known how bad commercial flower growing is,
Yes, exactly.
because they're not like pesticide controlled, anything like that. They're just
No.
rows and rows and rows of
Yeah.
huge flowers.
You
And then
mentioned some stats in your story. What were
Yeah.
they again?
I can't remember 100%, but like the water impact to grow like one rose was insane. It was like
Yeah, I remember,
litres
I
and
remember.
litres.
Really?
And you think that lasts a week maximum in your house?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's mental.
And you think all of that water and the fact that, a lot of the countries they're grown in don't have the pesticide regulations. So they've got these chemicals on that. They've got chemicals coming into your home that are banned in the UK. It's like, do you really
Really?
want that in your home? But we see it as natural because they're grown. You think,
flower.
oh, this is so natural and pure. I'm bringing this thing into my house. But essentially they are covered in chemicals and they don't last very long. The transportation of them as well. They've got to be
Yeah.
in chilled, like refrigerated vans from Holland or wherever they're coming from.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a tricky one.
Or buy some glass ones that last forever.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I love cut flowers as much as everybody else,
I know.
but
Yeah.
it is tricky. We're lucky that we have like a local, almost like flower farm, so I can go and get those on a Saturday morning, and I know
Yeah.
that they're grown locally, and like the transportation's a lot better, and
But that's not the norm for most people.
no, like supermarket flowers and things like that. It's a tricky one.
There's a good cost comparison there, isn't there? Really easy marketing cost comparison.
for sure.
Buy the real ones and you're doing all this harm. Buy my ones and you'll make me happy.
Exactly.
Yeah, mate.
What
And I'll
about,
make you happy.
yeah, what about Skillshare and stuff? Would you ever do, we talked about the guy that does the fish and the dinosaurs and stuff. Is there a world where you do a bunch of that swapping?
That would be really cool. I think, I'm hoping that doing more work in America would kind of facilitate that a bit more because there aren't many glass artists here.
Yeah.
I'm not really part of the community of glass workers. I think over in America there is more of a community and more kind of skill sharing and
Yeah.
people know each other. But I'm not part of that yet.
Okay.
And I hope that perhaps I can be. I think a lot of them work on the like bigger like glass blowing side of things.
Yeah.
So they naturally see each other, and because glass blowing requires more people to
I was
get
going
it
to
done.
say it's a team event,
Yeah,
isn't it?
exactly. So people will like buddy for each other and be like, oh, could you come to the hot shop and help me with this on this day, and then I'll help you when you want to do stuff.
Yep.
Or they'll share the costs of renting a studio or
Yep.
whatever. Whereas this is quite solitary. So naturally I don't need anyone. So you don't have that kind of crossover as much. But hopefully by being in the space of being in Corning and just kind of getting that exposure will help kind of
I'm sure it will.
meet other people.
Is it good solitary for you, or is it challenging solitary?
I quite like it.
Right.
I have worked normal jobs. I'm not very good at being managed.
Yeah.
I don't like having a boss. So I think it does work well for me being self-employed. And I am quite good in my own space. I quite like time on my own. And, I think podcasts and audiobooks and stuff are really beneficial because you can use that time productively to like learn things and expand things. And
Yeah.
so it's not like I'm just sat in silence all day.
No, quite.
But do you have to combat that in other areas of your life?
I think like the gym and things like that really help. I think for a long time I was too busy to do anything else.
Yeah.
And I
That's
was
a
on
really
my
easy
own.
trap to fall in.
So easy.
And then I suddenly realised like I'm really lonely. Like this is really isolating, especially because we're like a little bit out of town, and this village there's not many people of our
Tiny.
generation here, and it's very small. So I could go days if I didn't go to the gym without seeing anyone. I could go the whole week without seeing anyone. But our gym community is brilliant, and every morning I can see people and connect with people, and I feel like that's the right amount for me.
And you're looking after your body. You're not just sitting down all day.
Exactly. Yeah, I am sat all day here. So being able to get up and be physical and move and, look after my wrists and my shoulders and everything else. Because I do sit in that position all day like this. And, your shoulders creep up and your wrists get stiff and everything. So, the coach that I work with, he knows what I do.
Yeah,
so
right.
he can help me do stuff to really combat that,
That's
which
good.
helps. Yeah. So yeah, I'm very grateful to have that. And I think if I didn't have that, I would find working on my own very challenging.
Yeah. Finding some balance there.
For sure. And then that is also gives you the social side. Like I'm friends with a lot of the girls there outside of the gym, and we do stuff separately as well, which I think is important.
Do you think there's a world where you'll pull on an apprentice? You've mentioned a couple of times there's not a lot of people in the UK. Do you feel any responsibility to make sure there is more?
People ask me a lot to do it.
Can I come and work with you, please?
A lot of that. Where the business is right now, I don't have the time, I think, to kind of give to someone properly.
You're still trying to build up your side of the business to be able to then
Exactly.
sustain having somebody else come in.
For sure.
Yeah.
If I had a bigger workshop, it would work really well. But for now, if I had an apprentice on this torch, what am I doing? I have help with all the other aspects of the business. Like Andrew helps with all of that side.
Yep.
So it makes sense for me to be on the torch whenever I can. If we had a bigger workshop where I could have 2 stations, then I think it would make sense to kind of train someone up, perhaps.
I was like, you can't even extend a wee
No.
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 There's another one of these, the other side of this wall, and she's moved out, and I'm like, if I just knock through, like, how long does squatters' rights take?
Yeah,
Would
quite.
the new person even notice if I just took it all?
Yeah. Or could you even just buy it off, and just move through? 'Cause it's obviously
Yeah.
been one building at a
Yeah,
time.
exactly. Yeah. But we're grateful for the space we do have. We almost didn't even have this space. And being able to do it from scratch, so I
I'm
could have it
amazed
exactly
the
how I
output
wanted.
in a small space. There's a really good insight there into what am I looking at?
It's not big.
2.8, 3 metres by 3.2, something like that.
And
Like
for the past,
you're not looking at a lot.
No.
and for the past couple of months, you've been working on the Corning stuff, and I've just been watching the boxes
Oh my
of
gosh,
flowers.
yeah.
Like I don't even
I'm so grateful the weather's been good because
Yes.
I can't store much in here. So it's had to just be outside. And our house isn't big either. It's a small cottage. So there's only so much space to put everything.
You've also been just
We've been swimming
Yeah.
and stuff. Literally swimming.
must be exciting to see all that.
It's nice seeing it accumulate.
Yeah.
There's something really satisfying about seeing all the boxes all made, but also making stuff in batch and seeing them all lined up together.
I
It's quite
find that
satisfying.
really satisfying,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and being proud of all that work that you've
Yeah,
done.
for sure.
Do you take time to be proud of what you've done? Because I know sometimes it's hard
Yeah.
because you've just done that, right? Okay, I can't even think about
It's the
how
next
well
thing.
I did. I have to go on to the next one.
Yeah, I'm not great at it
Yeah.
for sure. I think the way, we've got Corning, and that's going to be quite momentous for just the sheer amount of work and the scale and everything. And then we have got some time afterwards, so I'm going to try really hard to zone in on that and just
Yeah.
have a minute, rather than being like, okay, now what do I need to do when I get back?
When was the last time you took a minute to do that?
Probably Finland,
Yeah.
I think.
How many years ago was that?
Last January, so not too bad. I also remember when we were we were going viral and we were in Italy and we were on this lake in a little kayak. And I remember there just kind of sitting and thinking, I think it's happening. You know, I think we're doing it.
I think I'm about to become an overnight success.
I think this might be, you know, everything we've hoped for forever. So that was, yeah, a bit of a moment.
Is it everything you've hoped for forever? Is it now everything you've hoped for forever?
I think so. I think
cool.
balance. I need a bit more balance, and then it will be.
And what does that balance look like?
Being able to switch off. Like sustainability in terms of not chasing my tail.
Yeah.
So we can go, the weather's great right now. Let's go out on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I can work another day.
Yeah.
Or I'm not feeling very well. I'm going to take the day off, you know?
Because you recently weren't that well. You had to take some
Yeah, I
time
had to
off.
take like a week off, which was unheard of. And luckily, it didn't really set me back. So that's a real luxury. It'd be nice to have like a buffer in. Because, you know, stuff happens. You know, you want to be there to help out grandparents or whatever else, you know? You want to be able to just drop tools and go and help people.
Yeah, life happens.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Like last year, Andrew was in hospital for like 10 days.
Yeah.
And I had to just keep things going
Yeah.
Wow.
because I didn't have the time to not. So
And also, his job in the business wasn't
exactly,
being
I was
covered.
doing his role, my role, being in hospital 6 to 8 hours a day. You know, it becomes a lot. So it'd be nice to, in those situations, be able to just lock the door and go, it's okay, we can just leave it and not interact with it for a while and just, you know, we're lucky that the community we have are very understanding. So if I put a thing up saying, you know, this is happening, I need a break,
But then
I
you
think
know
people
you're
would
human.
still be there.
You've done a
Yeah.
very good job at that. Like I've noticed through, certainly looking through your socials and all the marketing content you put out, it is very community orientated. Like I says before, it's the Flower Club. It's like a little group of people. It's,
Yeah.
Has that been an active choice to do that, or is it just the way it's come about?
I think so. I think I've wanted to build this kind of like, probably the community I was lacking for a long time. Perhaps
Interesting.
I was lonely and subconsciously built what I wanted to be a part of and kind of built that group around myself, perhaps.
That's often what people do, though, don't they?
Oh, that's
They
what I did
build
with the
it.
magazine.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. There was a lack of it, so you created it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's funny the way we do it without even realising.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is this what the final form of the Glass Florist looks like to you? Is there other ambitions on the table?
I would like to be able to do more of the bigger scale stuff because I think that will open up other products and like other ranges of things that I can't perhaps do. I'd really like to do installation work. It feels like a really big goal and something that almost like I feel embarrassed almost to say out loud in case it doesn't happen. I think as creatives, we often feel like, oh, I can't share like these big crazy dreams because people will
Absolutely
laugh
should.
at you and it will never happen.
They'd be like, yes, do it.
Like, how cool would that be to be in, you know, some fancy hotel, have some big
Big
installations
window,
somewhere.
something
Do
like
you,
that.
do you chase that? Or do you...
I haven't been.
No.
I think having the credibility of Corning will help me chase that.
Yep.
Having that on your like CV.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a portfolio, isn't
Yeah.
it, of what work you can do, and to have them take you seriously enough to bring you in, being the biggest kind of reputable name in that industry, I think is cool.
Yeah.
But going into hotels and stuff, they perhaps won't be as aware of Corning. You know, in the glass world, everybody knows them, but perhaps in other avenues they wouldn't. But that's something I'd like to go down. Like you said, perfumes, like window displays of perfumes always have flowers in.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Always.
Like Marc Jacobs.
Yeah,
Like, I've got
exactly.
this perfume, it's got flower on top. I just love flowers.
Yeah.
I do love flowers.
There was a place we were in Paris. That was
Perfume museum.
the perfume museum in Paris, and there's flowers everywhere.
Yeah. Just flowers.
So it could definitely be a part of like marketing campaigns or things like that. I just, like you said about seeing it all lined up, I really want to see it like really lined up, you know, on a really big
Yeah.
scale, like a meadow of it on the floor. I think that'd be really cool.
That
And
would
you
be
never have the
awesome.
time and the freedom to just do that for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So if someone could pay me to have that in their place, that would be really cool. You know, like Bryony's splashback that she did recently.
Yeah,
Getting to
right.
do something on like a bigger scale because
Yeah.
someone's asked for it. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
It's
you need
common.
someone loaded that wants a whole garden done out of
Exactly.
flowers, right?
It's common.
Exactly.
Like a 1 year project, just
I'd love it.
Yeah, take a year out just to do that
Yeah.
one project.
For sure. That'd be really cool.
Would you have done anything differently if you'd started this again?
Good question.
That could even be a different craft, that could be a different anything. If you were doing it all again, would you do anything differently?
What does it be?
Go away. me. They get confused by the flowers.
Yeah.
I perhaps would have sought out lessons in the Boro stuff, because I think perhaps knowing how to do that would be a better skill set than knowing what I do know now, and perhaps it'd be easier to teach myself the lampwork stuff if I already knew the Boro stuff. But that wasn't an option at the time.
Yep.
And I've still, never really seen classes in that. Again, I think if you're in America, perhaps there's a lot more of that available. I went to Berlin and did a class recently. That was really cool and very humbling.
Yeah.
I'm not good at it. It will take some time.
But you still seek out education in the space.
Yeah, I think it's important too.
I think so.
Yeah. And I would have the systems in place. I was fortunate that we always said, I'd chosen the flowers. I was focusing on the flowers. And Andrew would always say to me, okay, so what happens if Stacey Solomon shares your post and you're asleep? What's going to happen with that boom of people looking at you? Is your website ready for that? Are you ready for that? What would happen if you got 50 orders overnight?
It's a really interesting insight.
So we made sure the website worked, and we always made sure everything was in stock, and we just prepared ourselves in the hope it would happen. And I think sometimes you have to have that blind faith that it's going to happen.
You have to. Yeah.
Because otherwise you don't operate on the scale that you need to for people to take you seriously.
Yeah, for it to happen.
Yeah.
It's a really good insight.
It goes back to that riding the wave. Like, if you're not in a position, if you've not got a surfboard under your feet, you're not riding anything.
Exactly. And I've seen it happen to other people whose shops have been on holiday mode, or they haven't got a product up, they've got perhaps a portfolio, but they've not got anything available to buy. And then all of a sudden you get like 100,000 people looking at your website over a weekend, and they're not buying it, but they're ready. They've clicked onto your website. They want to spend their money.
You've got them in the shop. You've just got empty shelves.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't come back.
No.
Because
They
people
rarely come
forget
back.
quickly.
Exactly. It's that moment. You've got to get them then. And then if they then buy it and it's in their home, they then remember you for future things. They go, oh yeah, I love those. My mum loves them every time she comes over. I'll get some more.
Yeah.
And that's how you...
It's again with the magazine as well, like a physical thing that's just on someone's shelf. They could be like, oh, I remember that maker in that edition. I'm going to go and find it.
Exactly. You're like, oh, I need someone that works in leather. Okay, let me have a look. Yeah, I knew there was that girl. I'd see it.
Yeah.
And then
We
you
have
find them.
a couple of really good sponsors in the magazine that help us, namely Ibis, Real Milk Paint Co. and Ballarat Centre for Rare Trades and Forgotten Arts and Rare Trades. And they are really aligned with us in the fact they understand that they're not paying for one print ad for a 3-month. They are paying for one print ad that is there forever.
Yeah.
That's what they're paying for, and it stays there indefinitely until the magazine is rid of. And we obviously print to a quality that you wouldn't get rid of.
Exactly.
It's getting something in front of people
For sure.
is the hardest thing,
Yeah.
and then getting their email.
Being
That's the big one.
familiar, that they think of you
Yeah,
in that situation,
absolutely.
and that you become the name for it. Like, that's kind of why we chose the name The Glass Florist. So hopefully people go, oh, I want some glass flowers. Well, go to The Glass Florist.
Yeah.
Glass Florist. It says
Yep.
what it is on the tin,
Absolutely.
You've not got to try and remember this obscure name.
Yeah.
It's just The Glass Florist.
Or they might just say Donna.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might not even
Exactly.
say-
Well,
the
that's what you
glass,
hope they ascend
Yeah.
to, don't you?
Yeah.
You hope they ascend
Oh, I know
past.
Donna. And they're like, who's
Yeah.
Donna?
Yeah. Donna is the glass florist.
Yeah.
What does she do? Guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
What did you build all your site and everything on for people listening that are looking to capitalise on their viral moment?
So it's on Shopify.
Yes.
Shopify is the one.
It works well. It's quite intuitive. And their customer service, I find, is good.
Unbelievable.
They help you.
Yep.
They actually help you and want to help you, which is unheard of.
Because they want you to
in other
sell.
places. Yeah, exactly.
Loads of great plug-in apps to do just about anything you want
The
to do.
subscription app works so nicely
What
through
one do
them.
you use?
Subify, which I think has
okay.
just changed to Sellify or something.
Okay.
I think
We
they
use
just changed the
Seal
name.
subscription.
Oh, okay, nice.
It's similar. It's
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
thing. Ours does quarterly and it works.
Do you know, we were in America at the time and we wanted to start subscriptions and we spent days trying to find the right website, the right app. And honestly, I was like, why does this not exist? Like, why is this not
hundreds
straightforward?
of pounds just signing up to website builders to try and build the right thing.
Yeah.
Because we wanted something that someone could buy at any time in a 3-month period.
Yes.
Right.
And then it would, so even if you bought on the 28th of February, it would, on the 28th of January, it would repeat on the 1st of February when the next release came out. That was our big thing. And nobody was doing it, and we had to get Shopify and then Seal subscription.
Yeah.
And And it's just worked seamlessly since.
Yeah,
But you learn so much on this
exactly.
journey, don't you?
Yeah.
You just think how many things you've been through just to get where you're at now. And it's
100%.
going to continue.
Yeah.
You're never just going to be like there.
No. And every mistake that we make, I'm now able to reframe and go, you know what, we learned so much from that.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm actually glad we went through that
Yeah.
because I learned so much and now I won't do it again or tell people don't do that.
we had a marketing firm that we used for a while because we were like, you know, we're getting all this people looking at us, like let's ask someone to help us who knows what they're doing, to take over our social media and take over the website. We spent a lot of money and they did a bad job, you know, to the point that
We have been there.
I went on the website and it was just, they'd left it on a Friday night and it didn't work, and it, like, the stuff had all moved around. You couldn't click on anything, you couldn't buy anything like that. They'd left it in a mess and we couldn't get hold of them until Monday.
I remember you going through this.
It was really bad. And like we had like made complaints to them. We were in like a contract to pay a certain amount of money. So we were trying to get out of this contract for a certain amount of time. Didn't get all the videos that they'd said. Like it was just a mess. And we lost money on it. We did. But we've learned so much from it.
Well,
and
you
in a way,
paid for the
that.
lesson.
Yeah, I'm happy to pay for that lesson. So I think you have got to spend money to make money for sure. And that's something that when I'm not like business minded, I struggle with.
Yeah.
Even like ordering stock, I'm still like, Andrew, can you just press order on that? Because that's a lot of money and that scares me.
Yeah.
I know I need it and I know that the business is paying for it. Like ordering glass or boxes, I'm like,
Yeah.
You're like that.
Oh, yeah, me
When
too.
our massive print bill comes every quarter.
I can
It's
imagine.
so much money. It's unbelievable. I remember when we first started, we got 2,500 copies printed for the price of what costs us about 1,000 copies now.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Lots of paper in it.
Yeah.
It just went up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
scary.
it is scary. But you hope that at some point
Well, it will
it'll-
pay off. It
it'll-
always does.
Yeah, of course.
If you're in it long enough, you can't fail.
Yes. Yeah.
But like
Gotta ride the wave.
earlier last week, I was like, why is it so hard to build something so worthwhile? Like, why is it so difficult? Like, it shouldn't be this
Yeah.
difficult.
But you could set up an eBay page and sell the same stuff from China, just
Yeah.
super cheap. You know?
But then, you know, you're doing so good. You're doing worthwhile work, and it will pay off. So
Yeah.
you keep saying to yourself,
We went to a farmer's market last weekend and they had like a village hall with like stands with crafts and things. And I've done the circuit of those. I've done the ones that are free. I've done the ones that are 20 quid a day. I've done the ones that are like thousands of pounds, the NEC, London Excel. I've done all of them and never did well. Never. That was all before the flowers, but I never did well. A lot of the times I wouldn't make the money for my petrol there. Like sometimes I wouldn't cover the stand cost. Sometimes you do okay and that would fuel you to keep going with it and go, oh, I'll do another one because maybe this is the time.
Yeah.
And I think even now, if I took my stuff, I don't know that I'd have a good day because you can't base whether your business is going to do well based on the people that see you on that day. It's such a small minority of people. They maybe get 50 people through the door, but it's such a visceral thing when someone walks up to your stand and then walks away
Yeah.
and doesn't give you like the credit for it, doesn't buy something. You just come away from that thinking, well, this isn't going to work. This isn't a thing. I don't have a business here. This isn't a product. And it's having like the strength of character, I guess, to go, no, perhaps this just isn't my audience.
Yeah.
And online helps that drastically. You know, where would we be without
oh yeah,
having that global audience?
But you know the guy that started Shopify was a maker.
Yeah.
It was like surfboards or something he used to make,
Nice.
didn't he? And then he had to build a website because there was no way to do it. Because that's
Wow.
exactly it. So I'd be interested to know your thoughts on this. We've been approached by the Great Northern Craft Fair,
Nice.
the Manchester one in October. So Kate and I are currently looking. Quest
I
aren't
saw
taking
that
it.
on
We're
social
currently
media.
looking at the viability for makers if we take one of their premier spaces, the big space, and then obviously split it up with a bunch of makers that are being featured. Because I think the thing is, it's a very expensive thing to go and get one
Yeah.
and to not be able to track where the sales are coming from.
For sure.
But if you can split it into 6 to 8 makers, do a bunch of live interactive stuff there to actually get people remembering the Glass Florist
Yeah.
or remembering the...
And you're combining the social power of all of those makers as well. They put it to their audience, and
It's
then there's
just
like
marketing.
that cross-pollination, isn't it? You know?
yeah.
all
One
marketing.
person can only do so much, and I feel like if you have a power of people,
Yeah.
like it's the same. I keep going back to magazine, but like you know, the makers are in the magazine, they all share it, and then the whole audience
Exactly. You find new people through
Exactly.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many new people through that.
gets. So it's interesting.
Is that something that you think would work better?
I think so. Yeah. I think
You're allowed to tell me it's a crap idea.
Yeah, you're like,
I think it's worth going to those bigger ones, even though the initial input is so high.
Yeah.
But going to one that's so relevant, you know that the audience that are going to that are actually your audience. They're the people that are going there, respecting craft, being prepared to spend some money, you know? Whereas just doing these ones in shopping centres and things,
I've done it all as well.
Yeah.
I did one and somebody came up to me and was like, so where do you import your stuff from? And I was just like...
There's a massive banner showing you making your
But I was
furniture.
across the road from somebody who imports bags from China. I'm like, how
are you
and they're
supposed
like,
to compete with
how am I meant to compete with that? Like, they're all, people that came there were only there for the free food and wine. And you're like, they ain't interested. But you're sold something completely different.
Exactly.
And it's so disheartening.
Yeah, it really
You spend all the time making it, getting there, your accommodation.
And then standing there at that stall for 2 days,
Yeah.
you know, how much stuff you could have made in that time. And you've just got to guess what's going to sell. Whereas when it's online, people order what they want and then I then make what they want rather than just guessing and making a whole heap of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think, being at that fair is a relevant fair.
Yeah.
You're getting the power of all those makers together and combining that.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, what is going to work, you know?
That was kind of my view. It's like, if we try that, you can comfortably write off craft shows for the future because you've tried it.
Agree.
Ideally, we try it with some of the best makers that we know. We get a really good group of people.
Yeah.
We do a ton of marketing. I'm happy to throw paid advertising at it as well to get people through the door for it.
Yeah.
On the preview night tickets, everything. Like, if that doesn't work, we can hand on
You know
heart
then
say
that, it's not the avenue to go down.
These craft fairs are not for people anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's not just that they're not for us as a magazine, it's they're not for,
it's not the way people
yourself,
are buying
Bryony,
anymore.
us,
Yeah.
say Jack's Way Good. Like, it's just obviously not the way people are buying, I should say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Quickly about newsletters. Do you have one? You have a newsletter,
We
right?
do, yeah.
How do
Andrew manages that.
Do you put a lot of effort into it?
Not enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's one of these topics, like hot topics at the minute, is newsletters, because, you know, if Instagram does just one day decide, because you've got a lot of followers on.
It's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah,
Just think, where would you be left?
Yeah, bringing all those followers onto your newsletter.
Yeah, we've got a decent sign up on the newsletter. I don't read newsletters, so then
You struggle to be like, what will people read from me?
exactly. And you think, well, if I'm not reading them, are other people reading them? But it is such a good place to gather.
Is there any newsletters that you do read?
Yours, to be fair, I actually do. You read yours.
Okay, okay.
So what does that tell you? It's not that you don't read newsletters.
Yeah, it's content, isn't it?
It's the content or the person behind it.
Yeah.
Like, I sign up to loads of newsletters, loads of advertising newsletters, marketing newsletters, loads of engineering newsletters. Like, I sign up to loads of newsletters and I actively filter through them if I don't read them.
Yeah.
But I do that so I know what we should write our newsletters about and
that's
how
true.
we should write our newsletters.
And what's making you open it to read it?
Yeah.
And stay.
Because and it's even the same with the magazine. Like, I do a final proofread with you because I'm a terrible reader with a really short attention span.
Yeah.
So if the magazine can hold me for a whole story,
True. Yeah, it's a good
it's
test.
well written.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure. It's like we get Andrew's mum to go on the website every now and again, see if it works, and she's not great with technology, so if she can figure it out.
Oh, really?
We're like,
That's a good idea.
Good user testing.
Yeah.
That's actually a really important thing to do. It's something I know we've done it on occasion. Like, let's
I
just
send it
check.
to my mum. Can you just have a quick look and see if it makes sense?
Yeah.
Like, as a person who hasn't seen it before.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. That's
And
good.
someone who's not grown up in the technology age, like,
Yeah.
doesn't matter how bad a website is, we can all muddle through it, right? Can't
Yeah,
we?
you can figure it out. So I think there's so much to get across, like, especially with our lead times being so long. We have it everywhere on the website. It's on the banner. We have a pop-up that you have to click off when you put the order through. You have to tick a box that says, I understand I'm not going to receive this for a year, blah, blah, blah. And we still...
That's a good one. We should do that with our subscription.
Yeah.
Because we've had a lot of people buy the subscription and say they've not received it. And it's like, well, you've not paid for it because it's not the new start yet.
Yeah.
And it's just a misunderstanding. We have got it on banners everywhere, but I like the pop-up idea.
Yeah, and they have to click it in order to pay. We'll still get people be like, where's my order? It's been a month. And you're like, well, you click the box to say you understood. But, you know, people miss stuff. People forget stuff.
Yeah.
But it definitely decreases the amount of people saying, where's my order?
I'm doing that.
And that reduces your admin time, you know?
Oh,
You've
my
got to do
admin
anything,
time.
any little save that will give you more time to work on what you need to work on.
You know, Jack, it's like, why don't you pick 2 times in the day where you look at your emails? I really struggle with that at the
I
minute.
only look at my emails twice a day.
I used to do it constantly, and I'd constantly turn the torch off, have a look, and then put it back and start again. And it just takes up so much time.
Yeah.
So now, it's just once or twice a day.
I look at my emails, my emails and We Are Makers emails pre-tea break, like last 15, 20 minutes before tea break, last 15 minutes, 20 minutes before 4 o'clock tea break.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I do it. And if it was that important, somebody would phone me.
Yeah, exactly.
My number's everywhere.
Yeah. And like I used to look at it in the evenings, but then there will always be something that then filters into your evening, you know? If there's something that you got to deal with or something that's stressing you out.
Yeah.
And then you either deal with it and take away your evening time dealing with it, or it's just on your mind, laying around. So I try to only do it in work hours, but it is hard.
What are work hours for you?
At the moment, like...
I'm about to blow that theory out. Only do it in work hours. By the way, I work all the time.
all the time. 9 till 6-ish at the moment.
Nice.
Which I think is okay.
That's
Pretty good.
It's been longer, you know. Sometimes I'll work till like 10, but it's not sustainable. No. The good thing is the kilns only fit so much in.
Yeah, okay.
So that you actually kind of have a physical limit.
Yeah, I kind of get to the point and I'm like, I can't fit any more in here. So I can't do this anymore. I can then go and do admin stuff.
And is a kiln, will you fill a kiln a day?
Both kilns a day.
Both kilns a day?
Yeah.
So that is basically once I fill that, job and knock.
So at one point when I think I must have been a bit behind, a couple of months ago, maybe just before Christmas, I would come in early, fill that one, set that one going, fill that one, let that one cool down, fill that one. That's why I'd work till 10 because I'd have to wait for that to cool down and then reheat again and then try and get 3 loads through. But that's silly business.
Yeah.
That was working like 7:30 till 10. Just not good for you.
No, it's not.
You can do it at push. And I do think when you start a business, everyone that I was surrounded with at that time is very much like, oh, no, but this could go wrong and this could go wrong. It's very easy to see the faults in things and the risk of failure. And I think it's only when things start going well that perhaps your circle changes a bit and there's a bit more belief and all the rest of it. But I think you do have to sprint at times in business.
Oh, yeah.
There's this thing of like, there was a grafting mentality and now people are a bit anti-grafting. Like, it's not healthy to graft. And it's not to all the time. I'm not advertising that you should be working till 10 p.m. every night. Like, but at times you do have to sprint and you have to get it done when you're trying to build something and trying to make something happen.
If it matters to you.
Yeah. And that can't be forever. It can't be. That's not healthy. That's not sustainable. But I think it's okay to do that at times.
Yeah.
And people will question you. People that work a 9 to 5 and then can leave their job at the door as they walk out will question what you're doing.
Yeah.
And will think that you're being selfish with your time because perhaps you've not got time for them. You've not got time to socialise. You're probably not prioritising your health and you're probably not, you know, your house isn't tidy and perhaps you've not had time to go to the gym, but sometimes you have to make it happen.
Yeah.
And I think it's
Everything
okay.
you've just said there, I totally agree with.
Yeah. And it's okay for that. You know, we don't have to glamorise it, but it's also okay to do it.
It is okay for that. What's not okay is for other people to blindly say it's not okay. Because they don't see the full picture. They see a very small percentage of it. What's also not okay is to blindly do that graft without the purpose behind it. Like to blindly do that graft just for the sake of doing the graft. But if it's for your own business, if it's for this, it's for that, like you're thinking about what this is in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You're not thinking about what this is tomorrow. You're not grafting, so you're grafting for someone else's business, you know?
No, exactly. And I think it's okay to... People will tell you that you're doing the wrong thing. But it's okay to kind of believe in it.
I'm a huge fan of putting your head down and getting on with it.
I agree.
Luckily, I've also got a Kate to pull me out of it.
But like some people will turn around and be like, but like, why do you put so much out? Like, surely that's not healthy. I'm like, yeah, maybe it's not healthy just now, but I'm doing it right now.
Building a lifestyle here.
It is.
For the
like,
future.
Yeah, just watch and like a couple of years
well,
time.
especially in our instance as well, isn't it? We're building a media company, like historically the hardest thing in the world to build, and we're building a
that
media
doesn't come
company.
overnight, otherwise everyone will do it.
Exactly. It is a constant chipping away of gaining 1 or 2 customers, subscribers a day.
Yeah.
Like if we gain 7 subscribers, 10 subscribers a week, like it's a good week, and that's fine. Because at the end of a year, it's 520 odd subs, and that's worth it. It's small incremental gains.
For sure.
Yeah, they all add up.
Yeah, exactly that. They do all add up. And perhaps it's easy for me to say because I don't have kids, you know, I don't have that other responsibility. So if I want to work till 10, you know, Andrew will probably be like, oh, I thought we'd spend the evening together, but I can do it, you know, I don't have another responsibility.
We're the same.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's drastically different when you have children.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason, perhaps, that we don't have children is we've got this vision of what we want to grow.
This is your baby just now.
Yeah, and I know where I want to take him. We know what we want to achieve, and we know what like the end goal is.
We're in the exact same position.
Yeah, and I know that I couldn't commit the time to it if I had children.
Yeah.
And I probably wouldn't want to because I'd want to, have more time with them. And it's okay to make that choice as well.
Yep.
Totally.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Completely agree. Would you recommend it to anyone, you know, say you're doing a talk at school or you do have children, would you recommend a career in the arts?
I think it's not as perhaps glamorous as I thought it'd be as a kid. I thought being creative is like, oh, well, I just get to sit and make stuff all day. Like, I think it's important to be transparent.
Every maker who never made it work.
Yeah, exactly. It is a business. You are running a business. So you've got to want a business as well as want to be creative, because I don't think you can do one without the other.
It's not a sure statement made.
Exactly that.
You have to be able to do every aspect of it, you know? And the time that you spend, when you're a one-man band, the time you spend creating, 20% of your day. I'm so fortunate that Andrew can do the rest of it, and that means I can be creative. But mine's still processing everything else, and we're still having conversations about it. He's just actioning it, you know? Yeah. But yeah, if you're not prepared to do the business side of things, or you don't like that.
I phoned the other day, didn't I? Usually, like when I'm working away, I usually phone when I'm going between my office and the workshop just to catch up. It's usually like 5-10 minutes at a time. I was like, let's have a conversation. It's not about the business. He's like, well, first off, let me just get the...
I know.
And then we talked about the business the whole time. I think we picked up that conversation at about 9 o'clock at night again.
Yeah,
We're like, oh yeah, so what we were talking about was...
Yeah, 100%.
But it's just so consumed by it, like it is our life, you know?
Exactly, especially when it is you as a couple working in the same business. It becomes your life, and people outside will say that's unhealthy, and they'll say it's bad for your marriage, and you know you need to have other things.
Jamie at Bantam Framework said it perfectly. If you can't work with the person, why are you married?
Yes, I saw that one, and I
together?
completely agree. You know, people say, "How do you work together? How do you spend so much time together?" It's like, why don't you want to?
You've chosen to do that all of your life.
If he goes out for the day, I'm like, when are you home?
The hardest part of my work at the minute is being away from home.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Doesn't matter how difficult the project is. It's like I'm not going home every night.
Yeah. And you're working on different things. You're working in, the goal is the same, but you're utilising your strengths. And I think that's really good, having that like collaborative skill set that crosses over and you both understand, but you're not on each other's shoulder doing the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
It sounds like
we need each other.
It sounds like you guys have a very similar relationship to us. One dealing with systems, one dealing with the actual making of the product.
For sure.
And it does work.
Yeah, it does, for sure. And it just helps give me more time to do more of this. Yeah. You know, for a long time I did do it all on my own, but my output was a lot smaller because I didn't have as much time at the torch. Yeah. So if you want to do it at scale, then that's what it takes. And you got to outsource to someone, so not someone you like spending time with.
Exactly.
Rather than having an employee. Like, employees are hard. We did that when Andrew had an electrical firm. We had like 6 employees, and it's tough. You know, it is tough. And especially if I'm working from home, like, do I want outsiders in my home every day? No. You know?
Especially if you don't need it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it creates a nice lifestyle for both of us to be in the same business.
Yeah.
Because then we take the same time off, and
exactly.
Yeah, it just works.
Do you do this for the making, or do you do this for the lifestyle that the making provides?
That is a good question.
Oh.
I feel like I do it for the lifestyle very much, and the lifestyle is kind of the goal more so than the output of the business. Mm-hmm. I think where we want to be lifestyle wise is what we're working towards, and kind of if we get to it that way, that's great. If we get to it that way, that's great. But if I won the lottery, I would still make. Yeah. I'd make in a different way. I would make a piece and then say, does anybody want this? Rather than, what do you want? And I'll make it for you. I would make stuff for the creative sake of it.
Right. And
stuff that I think is beautiful and stuff that I really want to make, and kind of just stretch that creativity all the time. And then put it up for sale, I think. Because then if it doesn't sell, I'm not reliant on it. But yeah, I think I would still make... I'd need to. I wouldn't be able to sit still.
No.
I need to do something.
Yeah.
It'd be really interesting if you tried that, just made something for the sake of it and put it up and be like, hey, by the way, I've got a 12-month wait list. This was my Friday creativity project.
That's what I'm hoping to do. So that's slightly what we'll do with the...
big fat number on it as well.
That's what we'll do with the like travel pieces. So with the vases, like I'll just make something and it'll just go up for sale every now and again. Last time we did that, we did it as like an auction, and then we support World Land Trust and give like donations to them. I think that aligns really nicely with the business. It aligns with, you know, what I kind of believe in. We also do this company called Ecology. So for every sale through the website, they plant a tree. So we have like a small donation that automatically goes. That's a plug-in with Shopify as well. And
this
yeah,
is
it just goes to them, and
We should look at that.
it's really
because
cool.
we are a printed product.
Exactly.
I have looked at
Ties
that
in
recently,
nicely.
actually.
And then you can go on like your profile and see how many trees you've planted,
Oh, cool.
and they're like, oh, you've got a forest here, and this is working in this project over here, and you know, we're doing a reforestation project in Guyana, and you're part of this forest. Like, it's kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it just aligns nicely with the business, I think.
I think now, especially, you know, Kate and I's business being much like yours, where you are the personal brand behind your business. The business is you. You are the business. Like, everything does need to align pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's, you know, there's always going to be charities to donate to, you know, and you get asked a lot, and it's hard not to just support.
Well, that was our idea with
everything.
the grant fund. Why we want to get enough people to subscribe to the magazine, that we can do a grant fund, because so many people will either ask us to write a supporting letter for their grant fund, as like, we'll come and cover it if you do it, or, you know, we get that a lot, or hey, I've been looking at this grant fund, I can't apply for it because of this, other people might be interested in it, and it's just, why not do one ourselves?
Yeah,
It's just a wee helping hand. That's what I think.
Exactly.
what I
Big help
I like
if
it.
we hit the number.
Well, one day I'd like it to be, but
Yeah.
because there's so many people, even like there's a guy in America that we're hoping to see next month. We've featured him in edition 4. He's a locksmith, makes locks, but he can only learn so much because
It's a European
it's
craft.
a European craft. So he wants to come over to Europe and learn from someone to take it back. But he says, I just can't afford to at the moment. Like, he's working 2 jobs as well, just to keep his
Because it's
business.
hyper niche,
Yeah.
like old padlocks.
But he's like, I can't get any funding for that because it's just not, it doesn't
You don't want
exist.
these things to die out.
No,
It's
that's
so
exactly it.
important.
That's exactly it.
I love
He's
the way
in-
you guys feature like true kind of craftsmanship, you
Yeah.
know, old school crafts. It's proper like handiwork, you know. It's not just
This is one of the... So, you have to set rules when you start something like this, and it's the same with yourself. You have to set rules with whatever you're doing. Like, I'm not doing jewellery, I'm doing this. And one of our rules is like, one, is there lots of people doing it? If no, then yes. And the other thing is, could we do it? Like, we're both pretty capable people. You've made a lot of furniture, you've done a lot of leather work. I've been a really high level engineer, done a lot of metal work, done a lot of leather work, done a lot of furniture with you. If we couldn't stop into a workshop and do a reasonable job of it, it's not like someone else could pick it up. But there's a lot that's, I sit down
a whole
thinking
new
I'm quite
world.
a capable person, and I'll make a snot of glass or something.
I can't wait to see it.
Or, you know, just and
Might sell, Jack.
it's quite humbling. It's quite
Yeah,
humbling.
it is humbling.
And I think that's, as a creative person, I think that's really, really, really important, is to be humbled by other creative people.
Definitely.
The in the next edition, launching 1st May, the Navajo shepherd. He's a shepherd, raises his own sheep, does his own weaving, does all that. I'd be like,
Where do you
someone
even
put a sheep
start?
in front of me and I'm like, cool. How do we do that bit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'd just get from this to that.
Yeah, exactly, right?
know?
And that's really the important bit. We talk about Thomas with his locks and stuff. I understand how a lock works. I couldn't do a good job at it.
No, absolutely.
And I've done
not.
metal work, and I've worked machines, and I've done all that
There's
stuff.
a real
and-
skill involved, you know.
For sure. And there's so much history and heritage in that, you know,
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
don't want
yeah.
that to be lost. You know,
Yeah.
glasswork's been around forever.
Since
you
there's
know?
been sand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that it has an artistic property as well as a functional property, you know?
Well, what I really like about it, and specifically about yours, is it brings it to a new light. And there's a responsibility on craftsmen
Yeah.
that you need to bring your work to a new light. Like, if you
Yeah.
are really the kind of person that's passionate about X, Y, or Z, you do have to bring it to a new
Yeah,
audience. And
definitely.
making it different does bring it to a new audience.
Because I think glass, like on one of the, so there's a program called Blown Away on Netflix. Don't know if you've seen it. Like Bake Off, but for glasswork.
I actually have heard of it. Yes.
And the prize for that is Corning Museum of Glass having like a residency there.
Right.
And one of their challenges one week was glass flowers. So
Yeah.
they do stuff like blown glass rather than this kind of stuff. But the whole thing was glass flowers are old-fashioned museum gift shop tat. That's,
Right.
you know, how they described it. Reinvent it, make it more modern. And it's like, I don't think my stuff is old-fashioned, you know,
Nor does a
tat.
couple 100,000 followers.
Yeah.
Nor does the sales, nor does the club of people that buy them every month.
I think it's good to bring them to a new audience. Like you say, like, you do see other styles of glass flowers, and I personally wouldn't buy them, and I know a lot of people that like my stuff that wouldn't buy that because it is of a different style, you know? It's great for some people, but not for everybody else.
That's why styles exist, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. So I think bringing it as a more modern take, it expands it, and like you say, it gives it to a wider audience that just keeps the craft breathing, you know?
Yeah.
There's a whole new audience of people that wouldn't have known what glasswork was without seeing my stuff. And now they could have a conversation with someone and say, oh yeah, I've seen this girl, she makes flowers and she does it in a flame. And, you know, they might not know all the ins and outs, but they know enough.
Or they could pick it up and that could be their thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Often, when you talk about style there, I often think of Holly Cooper. When we first featured Holly Cooper, like she was doing a lot of earthware, ceramics, really nice stuff, but very much wasn't her. Like having stayed at Holly's house, it's very colourful.
Yeah.
Her and her husband are just pastel colours, bright colours, and that's what they're all about. And she kind of reinvented herself, and it's just so much better for her. Like she just enjoys the business so much more.
And people can see authenticity
Oh,
from
100%.
a mile off, and they can smell like inauthenticity from a mile off.
Arguably more so than see the authenticity.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think like there's no point trying to be someone you're not.
Nah, I totally agree.
And perhaps that's why being on stories and stuff can be scary to makers, because you have got to be yourself, because the volume you need to do, you can't keep up a persona for that long.
Yeah.
You can't just play a character unless you're, you know, great at drama, but you know, you can't just be a character all the
And
time.
sometimes, like I said to Jack not long ago, like I feel when I put myself in front of the camera or I say something, I feel like I'm almost going to get judged for it. Like, and it takes a while for you to get over that.
Yeah, because
like,
you will get judged.
Oh, you will,
Yeah,
no
of course.
matter what
Yeah,
you say.
yeah.
The internet's full of people that are not
Everyone's getting judged.
Yeah.
We all judge other people, whether you realise it or not. Everyone's making a judgment, and you just got to kind of realise that,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, fair
it's,
enough.
The internet's also just like it's the absolute worst at the minute. There's just so many people angry about so many things, and do you know what? The world's a pretty difficult place right now.
of
I
course
get
it
it.
is. Yeah, people have
But
tough
don't take it out on the person making the magazine or the person making beautiful glass flowers.
Yeah.
Like, go take it out on someone that,
Yeah.
We've been incredibly fortunate with that. I thought that when things went viral, I was going to have to really kind of toughen up to that side of things. We've barely had anything.
I mean, what
That's
can
great.
you say?
We had two people arguing amongst themselves at one point, but they were just
Leave them
arguing.
to it, yeah.
I was like, this isn't about me. That's
Yeah,
fine. I'll
yeah.
take it. I think something makers get a lot is other people, not so much with my stuff because you need so much equipment, but I've got a friend that does sewing, and she's always getting people go, like, tag their friends in, oh, you could do this.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know.
Or copycats.
Yeah, and I think that's disrespectful. I think people don't realise that, this is their livelihood and they've put a lot into this,
yeah.
But that it does help the fact that I need so much equipment that I don't get many copycats, because you can't just pick it up.
No,
you know?
you can't. You
I
can't.
think what Trent and Ben do, saddle making's fantastic for that. Like,
No,
you can't
it's
go...
just giving that a go on a Saturday.
Yeah. A lot of the machines don't exist anymore. You
No.
need to find them. To
Same
make
as
them.
boots.
Same
Yeah.
as boots. It's
That's
probably
why
why
it's
boots
hard
are
to
so
keep it
attractive
alive,
now.
because it's hard to pass that
Yeah.
on, because there's so much time involved to teach someone, and actually, like, how do you afford to
Yep.
keep someone? Because people don't like to do things for free that often.
No. Exactly. And
You
then
need to
teaching
be paid.
someone what you do when you're the only one that does it, it's scary, because you think, well, if I teach them how to do exactly what I do, am I just giving away business? Because what's stopping them just doing exactly what I've taught them?
Yeah.
The whole purpose of teaching them is for them to be able to do it.
And it's hoping they'll find their own style, not just copy you. Like,
Well,
that's-
David Bond also made a very good point of this. Lucky Bee, sign painter in Waco, Texas, from California. Phenomenal podcast. Really worth it. Just a really interesting dude.
Yeah.
Like, the original cowboy. He's cool. He's real cool. And he's really open with everything. And I'm sure it was him that said it. He's like, it doesn't matter what I tell someone. They're 30 years behind
It was.
me.
Yeah.
It's true.
They've
Yeah.
been doing it 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, even
Go
if
on, try
I
it.
decided to
Yeah.
pick this up today, I could give it every hour.
Yeah.
You're still going to be X years ahead of me.
Yeah. It's
At
true.
all times.
That is something that, when we do see people that are doing stuff that's quite similar, you kind of give yourself that kind of reassurance that, we've nailed our packaging. Our stuff arrives and doesn't break often. I feel like we've built a community, we've got a style, like even like the workshop, I feel like everything's quite like in brand, and we are ahead. We've had this time, we've got this time behind us. We've figured out these systems. We've, know where to wholesale things from to get good prices to help the margin so that our prices can be reasonable. We've built it. And if someone else does start, then they've got to figure that out themselves.
And it goes down to how long can you last. Because the people that copy you, they seen something that looked successful. They didn't build it from a passion. I often think that with the magazine, like you'll see little flutterings of other things starting, and Unnamely podcast starting recently that is just doing exactly what we're doing, but they're not travelling to people. They're not driving the 5-6 hours to come and see you for an afternoon to drive 5-6 hours back, and I'm like,
and that's
that's our.
That we're more like invested in it.
Well, no, it's not that. We just like to do it. That's what.
It gives a better result, I think, as well.
It does.
I think you can have a more authentic conversation. I think especially the people you're featuring, like part of the reason I watch it rather than listening to it is because I want to see people's workshops. I think other creative people are really curious about that stuff. You know, I want to see your machinery. I want to know how that works. I want to see it, you know, how you set things up.
See, the best thing that we did, I think, when we were in America, is we did like the 10 minutes with, and we want to do more of those. But it just takes so much time. We did
that 10-minute with video took like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
It's an absolute nightmare.
Definitely not 10 minutes.
It wasn't 10, I mean, it must have been 3 hours, but we only just cut it down to 10 minutes, was with Paul Hamler, like, and his workshop was just insane. And like, just getting the glimpse of like behind the studio, and it was just so interesting being there, and like, I wish we could do more of that. Like, that would be my next. If we could do more, would be
more
to do
hours
that.
in the day.
Yeah, because people want to see inside.
Definitely do want to see that.
It's exciting.
Yeah. How do you stop yourself from just trying to do more, though? How do you do it? Because we need some advice.
Scheduling holidays.
Great idea.
Because then I have to keep to a deadline for everything else. That helps. Like committing that I am going to go to the gym. That is my time. So
You're really good at that.
If I get busier, I'm not going to just be like, oh, okay, well, I could just start earlier. No, I can't start until that time because I have this thing in that's non-negotiable. And trying to factor in more social stuff, I'm getting a lot better at that and being like, no, I'm not going to cancel that just because I need to get some more work done.
I need that time.
Yeah, exactly. That's just as important as the work.
So it's not really difficult, is it? It's not big. You never says anything there that was like,
No.
it's just like, I'm going to do these really simple things that we should be doing for ourselves.
Yeah. Because it's just as important. You know, the work is only going to suffer if you're burnt out, you know? And you get to a point where you don't want to get to that point where you can't keep going.
Yeah.
You know, burnout, I think, as a creative is a very real thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it takes a lot to come back from.
I think the most worrying thing about, and having spoke to countless creatives and, you know, being in the creative field ourselves, it's much harder to notice. If you're doing an office job that you dislike, you're going to notice burnout in its early stages. If you really enjoy what you're doing, you're not going to notice it till it's way too late.
And, you know, you can take sick time and like get signed off sick and all the rest of it when you've got a paid job, you know, an employed job. We don't have that luxury. You can't get to the point where you're like, I need time to kind of reboot. You've got to keep going. So that's got to be sustainable. I got to the point where I wasn't having weekends, but you can't do it. You can only do so many days on the trot. So then I'd be like, okay, I'll have 1 day weekends. I'll commit to always having 1 day. And now it's like, no, I can have 2, but I've got to like commit to being productive in the week. But that makes you more productive in the week.
Okay, interesting.
Because you're like, I'm having these days off, but I still need to get this amount of work done. So we'll squeeze it in.
There was a big study in, I think it was Finland, wasn't it? There was like 4-hour workday.
Yeah.
And how much actually gets done because you're just hammering it for 4 hours.
Yeah. And you're committing to it because you know that all that work still needs to be done. And otherwise, if you know you've got more time, it's like working to a deadline, isn't it? Working under pressure.
Yeah.
You get it done.
You always do.
Yeah.
We struggle with holidays because we're like, oh, if we're going to that place, we can go and see this maker.
I can imagine.
And I'm like,
Have time off.
I'll have a relax, but we're going back to that.
Yeah.
But how could we make
There's
it more
also a tax
productive?
incentive to go and see makers while you're out there,
Exactly.
isn't there? So,
The work trip.
yeah.
For sure.
But no.
Kate,
Love a work trip.
My last question, what advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, I think it would go back to that thing of knowing that people are going to doubt you and that that's okay. So expect that from people. People can't see what's in your head. There's very different like personality types. Some people are creative and some people aren't. Some people hate the idea of having a boss so much they will put their heart and soul into making this work, you know? But a lot of people are more conventional and have the 9 to 5 and like to be employed and like to, you know, have the pension scheme and everything else. But that's not really any safer. In the time I've had my business, I've seen so many people lose jobs, you know, Whereas it's in my hands, so I will make sure I don't lose my job because I have
fully
the
in
power.
control.
Yeah. So not everyone will see what you see. It's so easy for people to like criticize and find failures and reasons why it's not going to work, but that you do just have to kind of stick to your guns. And it's lonely for a while. It will be, but then eventually you surround yourself with the right people. You start to find people like in your same community that have the same beliefs and are doing the same thing.
It's total therapy, isn't it? When you speak to someone who
100%.
gets it, you're just like, thank you.
Yeah. And as you're doing it, you find those people, and then your circle gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it isn't as lonely, and it, you know, you feed off each other. I love seeing what you guys are doing, and that gives me more energy to do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And gives you belief that you're on the right track because other people are doing it and other people are doing well. So it's kind of knowing that you are a bit different, you know, you're doing something different to the
So it's
you're
not
not
going to be
wrong.
easy.
No,
Yeah. Yes.
you're bucking the trend, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And stick to your guns, because eventually you'll find your people.
Yeah.
And they will be there, and then they are your support network, and that's what helps.
They might all just be spread out by
Yeah.
500,000-600,000 miles at a time. That's what we know.
what the
We've got some
internet's for.
amazing friends. Yeah, that is what the internet's for, right? Brilliant.
Because my mum sometimes will like check in and be like, "Are you okay? Like, I haven't heard from you in a while. Like, are you managing? Like, you sure this isn't too much?" And I'm like, "No,
Of course
I'm
it's too much.
Well,
Yeah,
of course it's too much, but like, it is just that's
It's what we're
the
doing.
world that I'm in, and that's
Yeah.
will continue to be like this for
This
a
is
while.
what we've chosen.
Yeah, it's,
And this is what we're doing.
Yes, we're stupid, but like, we're stupid in a good way.
Yeah.
Stupid until it works.
Yes, Ted.
Exactly.
Everyone's
that.
stupid until it works.
And then people see you successful and they're like, "Oh yeah, I always believed in you." No, you didn't.
Yeah, I look at
Thanks.
some, even just from an engineering point of view, and you read a lot of engineering papers, and you look at some of the biggest engineering and scientific discoveries we've made. They were all dumb
Crazy
until it worked.
Until it worked, yeah.
Right down to the car. Like, we were all dumb until it worked.
Yeah. Don't need that. And then everyone can't live without it.
And now we're like, we do need all that we've given up for processed stuff, right?
Yeah. It's nice the way it's coming back around, that people
I
are
think so.
appreciating the process of things, because that's where the heart and soul goes in, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I think we've all been unintentional, and self-included. Like, I'm good at a good doom scroll. We've all been pretty unintentional for a while, and it feels like it's coming back. We've definitely noticed it in our business spiking in the last couple of years. The intentionality of whether that's making things or just doing. Even look at the popularity of like books again. And
Yeah, everyone's
that.
reading again. The first year I did this, I would be a millionaire if I got a quid for every time someone said to me, "Well, couldn't you just get a factory in China to make them?" I would get that so often, but I don't get that so much now. I don't know if that's just because it's more successful, or if it's because that pattern of people coming around to like, they want the process of it.
yeah,
You know, they appreciate it, they respect it more.
agree. I think it is. I think people look. Everything's expensive at the minute. Everything is expensive, and I think if you're going to spend your money,
You want to spend it well.
personally, I don't mind if it's a bit more expensive, but I know it's spent really well.
Yeah. I like going around my home and knowing that everything's got a
yes.
story.
Yeah.
that's
know?
why
Our house is great for
Yeah.
that. Isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. I
If
love
someone
it.
comes round for a cup of tea, I'm like, "Oh, okay, what mug will I give you?" Because they've all got a story.
Everyone
Exactly.
comments on them, don't they?
Yeah, I love it.
That's the way it should be, you know?
is.
Because that, for me, is where I get like the little joys in the day.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
those little things, and it's seeing all of those, and then that sparks that memory, and it brings that conversation up, and
It's a good point.
gives
It
you
is the little
inspiration
joys
as
of the day,
well.
Yeah.
I think as a creative, seeing those little things, and it reminds you of that place you got it from, then might give you an idea that you can then make something else out of, and take you to a place that you weren't going before.
What a nice.
I think that's a nice one to wrap it up on.
Quite like, where did people find you?
So Instagram,
Yep.
Glass Florist.
You
We
started
are
a YouTube.
Yes, we've got YouTube.
Yeah.
We're almost at 10 episodes.
Nice.
Nice.
A lot goes into a YouTube.
Oh man, tell me about it.
My
so much.
goodness.
It's
a lot
ridiculous.
goes in. Yeah. Still learning at that. Very much
Yeah.
still learning at that. But it's been nice to document the process of the New York show, even if it's just for me to look back on.
I look at a lot of our YouTube stuff as just that. It's just nice for us
Yeah.
to look back on, and
Yeah,
hopefully
for
other
sure.
people get value from it.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have something else would have to drop for us to have more time.
Watch your mic. Can't even see it.
For us to have more time to do a really well produced YouTube
Yeah.
show. It's just not on the cards yet,
You
but
have
it's
to
still
kind
a
of
nice thing.
reshape the business, I think, to really prioritise that, to do it
Well,
really
so many
well.
people do that, don't they? That is
yeah.
their business.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you compete with that? And actually, I think there is a world where just doing what you can and putting it up there is still 100% worth
That's
it.
where we're at right now. It's like we might as well do something and have it there, and then we can, if we need to kind of pivot and do more of that, then that's an option. And we kind of started it. We're learning the lessons now that we can use if we need to.
Brilliant.
Well, good for you. This has been great. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for coming.
No, of
all
course.
this way.
I feel like we've dusted the cobwebs off.
Yeah, it's been really good. I enjoyed that.
Kate, where do people find out about us?
Oh,
Look down the barrel of the camera. Do that really awkward thing. That YouTube thing, since we're talking about it.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. If it made you smile today or feel inspired, hit follow, leave us a review, or share it with a fellow maker. It really means the world. If you'd like to support what we do even more, you can subscribe to our quarterly print magazine, where you'll find even more maker stories in every edition. We'd also like to share that we're working on the We Are Makers grant. Once we reach 2,500 magazine subscribers, we'll be giving 11% of all our subscriptions directly to makers to help fund tools, travel, photo shoots, or anything that moves their craft forward. Find the link to all of this in our show notes. We'll see you soon, wherever the next story takes us.